Chapter 5194. When Chu Yingming first found out that his foundation had been damaged and could no longer increase his cultivation, his heart collapsed. Even though he had always been very rational, he was also very proud. Thinking that he might not be able to increase his cultivation in the future, he even felt that it would be better to just die. Otherwise, what use would it be? However, gradually his mentality changed. No matter what, he had to try. Perhaps there was still a chance to cure him. Even if there was no chance, he couldn't just die like this. Otherwise, he would only become a joke to everyone. Why are you still so polite to your father? Chu Yifeng's eyes were full of affection. Have the family doctors already treated you? What is the situation? They can't find a specific cause and can't solve this problem. Chu Yingming sighed. As soon as he came back, he went to find the family's doctor. As long as this problem could be solved, he didn't care about anything else. Unfortunately, the result was still so despairing. Right now, they have already gone to find other doctors for me. I will wait for news in the family. After hearing this news, Chu Yifeng's face also became a bit gloomy. As a cultivation family, the family doctors were naturally not bad. If even they couldn't solve this problem, it could be seen that the difficulty was not small. Yingming, don't be too anxious. There will always be a way. Chu Yifeng patted Chu Yingming's shoulder. His deep voice was filled with determination and confidence, making Chu Yingming feel an indescribable strength. Although the problem of foundation damage is very difficult to cure, there are still cases of success. As long as there is a way, no matter what price I have to pay, I will not hesitate. Father. Chu Yingming's heart suddenly fiercely jumped. Facing those eyes full of affection and confidence, he only felt his heart was very warm. There was a feeling of hot tears in his eyes. Normally, Chu Yifeng was very strict with him. After so many years, he had almost never heard any praise from his father. He thought that after returning this time, he would inevitably receive a scolding from his father. He didn't expect that at this time, his father would reveal this side of him. This made him feel disbelief, but it also made him feel warm. Chu Yifeng smiled faintly. I am usually quite strict with you because I want you to succeed. In the next few days, you should have a good rest. It's good to have some rest. Yes. In the following period of time, one doctor after another was invited to the Chu family in order to solve the problem of Chu Yingming's foundation damage. However, in the end, all of the doctors shook their heads and helplessly left. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't help Chu Yingming successfully break through. This sort of situation caused Chu Yingming and the others to become even more discouraged. Family head, I heard that the D clan's guest physician, Wu Weiming, is extremely skilled in medicine. Back then, Madame B's illness was extremely serious and many doctors were unable to treat her. Only Wu Weiming was able to think of a way. Young master's current situation is so complicated. Maybe Dr. Wu Weiming has a solution. When the Chu family elders saw that the group of doctors were helpless, he couldn't help but think of Wu Weiming. Chapter 5195. I've also heard that Wu Weiming's medical skills are incredible. However, he has never agreed to become a guest doctor for any family or faction. How did he end up becoming a guest doctor for the D family? Chu Yifeng frowned. He had already heard from Chu Yingming about the enmity he had with the D family in the Immortal Cloud secret realm. Thinking about it, it would be extremely awkward for them to ask the D family for help under these circumstances. I don't know about that. The great elder shook his head. I'm sure the D family has used some sort of conditions to attract him. A strange look flashed through Chu Yifeng's eyes. Thinking back, he had heard that many factions were trying to keep Wu Weiming. After all, having a doctor like this in the family would save them a lot of trouble. However, in the end, none of the factions had succeeded. Who would have thought that the D family would succeed this time? Master, there's something good about Dr. Wu Weiming. He loves to help others. He basically never refuses anyone who asks for help. Hearing this, Chu Yifeng nodded. Since that's the case, we have to give it a try no matter what. Father, I already have enmity with the D family. I'm sure the D family won't be willing to help. Chu Yingming's heart sank. Back then, he had already put down his pride and asked Bailey Hongzhuang for help. However, in the end, he was still rejected. It was one thing for him to be rejected, but he didn't want his father to have to endure this as well. Seeing Chu Yingming's conflicted expression, Chu Yifeng faintly smiled. However, his eyes were filled with determination. Yingming, this matter concerns your entire life. No matter what, we have to give it a try. Otherwise, you won't be willing to give up like this. But father, I know how decisive Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang are. They definitely won't agree. Chu Yingming stared at Chu Yifeng and the great elder as his voice suddenly became much hoarse. It wasn't that he wanted to give up on this hope. He just didn't want his father to be humiliated because of him. Yingming, you don't need to say anymore. Chu Yifeng raised his hand and stopped Chu Yingming from continuing. It's not impossible to eliminate our grudges. We don't have many grudges with the Di family. Although you and them are enemies this time, there's no grudge between me and Di Yujue. As long as the conflict between the younger generation doesn't involve life and death, we can resolve it. Chu Yifeng's expression was calm. He had already made his preparations, as long as he could cure Chu Yingming's injuries. So what if he had to put down his old face? Chu Yingming stared at Chu Yifeng in a daze. He knew that no matter what he said, he would not be able to change his father's mind. Thus, he didn't say anything else. However, there was a complicated look in his eyes. On this day, Di Beichen was pulled aside by his grandmother at the family dinner. Beichen, did you really meet Xiaofeng's sweetheart in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm? Yunishan's face was filled with curiosity. Up until now, she still hadn't heard any news from Xiaofeng. Helpless, she could only turn her attention to Di Beichen. Di Beichen looked at the curious grandmother, and a trace of helplessness appeared on his handsome face. Chapter 5196. At this moment, Di Xiaofeng's voice suddenly came from behind. Grandmother, are you trying to get information about me from Beichen again? Hearing the voice coming from behind, the old lady turned around and looked at Di Xiaofeng with a helpless face behind her. She was a little guilty at first. Then she took it for granted. You brat, I'm just worried about you. Grandmother, don't worry. Di Xiaofeng sighed. It won't be long before I bring back your beloved granddaughter-in-law. Are you serious? Really? Di Xiaofeng nodded. Yunishan's face suddenly bloomed with joy. She patted Di Xiaofeng's shoulder with satisfaction. Well, grandmother will wait for your good news. Lin Qianqian, Lin Yi, and others were not far away. After hearing the news, Lin Yi said, Sister, I will go for a walk around here first. Lin Qianqian also knew what Lin Yi was thinking, so she nodded immediately. Go ahead. However, Lin Yi just took a few steps, and she bumped into someone with her head down. Sorry. Lin Yi covered her forehead and apologized quickly. But when she looked up, she saw a stunning face. It was an impeccably handsome face. The angular facial features were like a work of art. Everything was just right. The most eye-catching thing was the long, white satin-like hair, casually draped behind his head. The purple eyes were even more innately bewitching, like the bright stars in the sky, shining extremely brightly. Lin Yi looked at this figure in a daze. She couldn't help but fall into a sluggish state. Such a man would only appear in the picture scroll. Not only Lin Yi, but everyone present showed the same stunned expression after seeing this figure. Oh my God, who is this? He is a living evildoer. Isn't he too good-looking? We are really lucky. Young Master and eldest Young Master are both first-class handsome men. Now, there's one more. This man came with Young Master's wife, but I didn't see anyone coming to the family today. The cultivators from the Di family looked at each other. They really couldn't understand this. Lin Qianqian quickly walked over and held Lin Yi's hand. Only then did the latter come back to her senses. Shangguan Yingying also rushed over as soon as possible. Her eyes were full of amazement. She quickly asked, Hong Zhuang, who is this? When Ziren noticed his wife's excitement at seeing another handsome man, he quickly walked over and stood between Shangguan Yingying and the white-haired man. Hong Zhuang, aren't you afraid that your Beichen will be jealous? Bailey Hong Zhuang chuckled. Don't worry, Beichen knows. Then who is this person? Ziren vigilantly sized up the man in front of him. This guy's appearance made him feel threatened. Looking at the curious look of everyone present, Bailey Hong Zhuang suddenly became playful. She smiled and said, "Take a guess. Who can guess this?" Xiron rolled his eyes. He had never seen this guy before. Baishur also looked at everyone present with a smile. Usually, when he saw everyone, he looked up from the bottom. This was the first time he looked at everyone from this angle. He felt very amused. Chapter 5197. Lin Xianxian and the others also looked at each other. Before Bailey Hongzhuang said this, they were certain that they had never seen this person before. However, after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, it was obvious that they were familiar with this person. Otherwise, Bailey Hongzhuang would definitely not say such a thing. However, even after thinking about everyone in their minds, they could not think of anyone who fit the image of this man before them. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze swept across everyone present and realized that everyone was confused. Just as she was about to reveal Baishur's true identity with a smile, a voice suddenly rang out. "This should be Baishur, right?" Once this was said, everyone was stunned. Bailey Hongzhuang also looked at Mo Yunjue in astonishment. She did not expect Mo Yunjue to be able to recognize him at a glance. "How did you guess?" Bailey Hongzhuang's bright, pitch-black eyes were filled with curiosity as she stared at Mo Yunjue. The current Baishur did not look any different from before. "I guessed." Mo Yunjue smiled faintly. Previously, Baishur was already about to break through to the nebulous stage. After not coming out for such a long time, I guessed that he must have succeeded in breaking through. He knew very well that if the other party was not someone she was extremely familiar with, Hongzhuang would not be so close to him. Coupled with Di Beichen's attitude, he could roughly guess that Baishur was the only person who fit this situation. Everyone listened to the conversation between the two and looked at Baishur again. Instantly, they were even more amazed. Heavens, Baishur is too monstrous after transforming into a human. Shangguan Yingying could not hide the excitement on her face. She grabbed Baishur with one hand and looked him up and down carefully. "He's really too handsome. He's simply a handsome man from a fairy tale." Lin Xianxian and the others nodded. Their thoughts were exactly the same as Shangguan Yingying's. Just looking at was a form of enjoyment. The thoughts of the female cultivators present suddenly became lively. The most handsome men in the family were Di Xiaofeng and Di Beichun, but these two were already taken, so they naturally had no hope. She didn't expect that such a bewitching young man would appear. If she could be liked by such a man, she would die of happiness. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others noticed that the surrounding women were looking at Bai Li Yin Che as if they wanted to eat him alive. "Let me introduce you to my younger brother, Bai Li Yin Che." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled as she introduced Bailey Yin Che to everyone. After returning to the family, she had been busy for the past 2 days. It wasn't until the banquet that she brought Bailey Yin Che out. Today's occasion was undoubtedly more suitable to introduce it to everyone. Bailey Yin Che also revealed a smile to the crowd. In an instant, his elegance was boundless, and everything around him seemed to have become a foil. It turns out that he is the younger brother of Madam Young Master. No wonder he is so handsome. Madam Young Master has always been the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. I didn't expect her younger brother to be so handsome. This is so enviable. How good would it be if I could be liked by young Master Bailey? Lin Yi stared at the tall and handsome figure in front of her in a daze. Her face turned white and red. She really didn't expect Baishur to transform into a human form so quickly. Chapter 5198. Ugh, I have a stomachache. Lin Yi quickly covered her stomach and pulled Lin Xianxian on the side. "Sister, take me back quickly." Lin Xianxian was taken aback. "Why do you have a stomachache all of a sudden?" "I don't know either." Lin Yi lowered her head. Her face was full of anxiety and annoyance. "Anyway, you should take me back first." Seeing this, although Lin Xianxian was confused, she still nodded repeatedly. She turned her head to look at Lin Taxing and others. "Yi is not feeling well. I will take her back first. You don't have to wait for us. Let's go." Lin Yi beckoned Lin Xianxian and left quickly. Bai Li Yin Che looked at Lin Yi's fleeing figure, and a faint smile appeared in his eyes. Yi must be embarrassed, so she ran away quickly. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. She remembered very clearly that Yi told Bai Shi everything because she couldn't let go of Xiaofeng and was too embarrassed to tell others. Now that Bai Shi had become a handsome man, she was naturally embarrassed. Haha, I also remember the situation at that time. No wonder Yi is shy. This is normal. Everyone chuckled. This sudden change surprised them, not to mention Lin Yi. Hongzhuang, how did Bai Shi become your brother? Shangguan Ying looked at Bailey Hongzhuang curiously and asked. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. Bai Shi has turned into a human form now. I always feel that it is inappropriate. Isn't it good now? With such a handsome brother, I can find a sister-in-law in the future. As soon as these words came out, Shangguan Ying was taken aback at first. Then she couldn't help but laugh. Ha, that makes sense. I also hope that my deep-sea devil dragon can break through to the nebula realm as soon as possible so that I can have a sister. Ha! When Xiren walked in front of Bai Shi, he knew that Bai Shi was very good-looking among beasts. Now that he had turned into a human, he was equally good-looking. The most important thing was that this kid was actually taller than him. Thinking that he always touched Bai Shi's head in the past, he was really not used to it. Fortunately, Xiren was also very adaptable. Yin-Che, I'm afraid that Yi will run away whenever she sees you these days. After all, she's already told you everything that's on her mind. When Xiren poked Bai Li Yin-Che's arm with a smile on his face, Bai Li Yin-Che spread his hands. Actually, I didn't say anything at that time. What Lin Yi said was nothing more than how she liked Di Xiaofeng in the beginning and her feelings over the years. In fact, everyone had already seen all this. He just treated it as a tree hole and listened to their interactions over the years and Lin Yi's infatuation. He didn't think there was anything shameful about it. On the contrary, it was Lin Yi's sincerity. That's what you think, but he doesn't think so. When Xiren shook his head, Lin Yi's acting just now was not brilliant. Even a fool could see that she was pretending. It should be fine after a while. Di Beichun said slowly, the next time we meet, Yi will be calm. Xiao He and Xiao Bai glanced at each other. Human thoughts are really complicated. It's always complicated. Xiao Xuanzi sighed and looked at Bai Li Yin-Che again. Can you understand it now? Just SOSO. Chapter 5199. Seeing this, the contract beasts couldn't help but look at each other. It seemed that they had the same idea. At the same time, Ling Er's figure also slowly appeared in everyone's line of sight. Her plain-colored long dress made her look otherworldly and ethereal. Her similarly exquisite facial features carried the unique bewitchment of demonic beasts. Standing beside Bai Li Yin-Che, they looked extremely compatible. Ling Er looked at Bai Li Yin-Che in front of her, and a trace of astonishment also appeared in her eyes. We haven't seen each other for a while, but Little Beast King looks like a human after transforming into human form. What do you mean by looks like a human? Xiao He couldn't help but say. White Lion is already transformed into human form. Xiao He and the others had extremely complicated thoughts towards Ling Er. Ever since Ling Er appeared, they were completely treated as little beasts. Although their age couldn't be compared to Ling Er, the feeling of being treated as little beasts was also very unpleasant. No one knew when Xiao He and Lil Xuanzi would be able to transform into human form. White Lion had finally transformed into human form with great difficulty and could finally not be ridiculed by Ling Er. They didn't expect this guy to say such a thing again. What do you mean by little? Bai Li Yin-Che frowned. Other things were fine, but the word little made him feel very unhappy. Following Bai Li Yin-Che's words, Xiao He and the others couldn't help but stare blankly. Shouldn't the focus of attention be on looks like a human? Why was it little? Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Ying looked at each other. Their thoughts were the same as Xiao He's. The focus of attention was really different. At the same time, Di Beichun and Xiren looked at each other and smiled. As men, it was indeed intolerable to be called little for no reason. Aren't you a little beast king? Ling Er said frankly. Remove the word little. Bai Li Yin-Che said seriously. Looking at Bai Li Yin-Che's serious appearance, Ling Er was also confused. Why? There's no why. What if I don't? Ling Er's eyes were stubborn. Although beast kings were indeed very powerful existences, she had always been so. Bai Li Yin Che had just transformed into human form, and he was already planning to completely turn it over. Bai Li Yin Che's of looking at of sight, Ling Er's heart, she actually felt a bit guilty. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others only felt that the atmosphere suddenly became tense. Whether it was Bailey Yin Che or Ling they were both top demonic beasts. If the two of them were to explode, it would be hard to say what would happen. However, just as everyone felt that the atmosphere was getting tenser and tenser, Bai Li Yin Che suddenly retracted his dangerous gaze. Forget it. Ling Er heaved a sigh of relief. Although the Dragon Clan was a first-rate existence, the Beast King was also extremely terrifying. In terms of strength, dragons were no match for Beast Kings. The dragon race was a race, but there was only one Beast King. However, what Bai Li Yin Che said in the next second made Ling Er explode. I won't argue with you, little Ling. Little Ling. Ling Er was stunned and looked at Bai Li Yin Che in disbelief. You have a nerve to call me little? Is there a problem? Little Ling Er. Bai Li Yin Che's expression was calm as he glanced at Ling. As one of us, I will take good care of you in the future. Take care of her. Chapter 5200. That's right. Bai Li Yin Che's face was calm, as if he was talking about something very normal. Shouldn't I be the one taking care of you? Ling Er was speechless. This guy was completely a brat in front of her, okay? Now he actually said that he would take care of her. I'm a man. Naturally, I should be the one taking care of you. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. They remembered very clearly that Bai Long was the strongest, so they usually treated Bai Shi and the others as small fry. Now, that Bai Li Yin Che had transformed into a human, it seemed that he was planning to completely turn things around. It's hard to understand the matters between monsters. Let's go eat. Shang Waning looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. She felt that Ling and Bai Li Yin Che were going to fight. At this time, it wasn't appropriate for them to help either side, so they might as well go eat. Bailey Hongzhuang naturally understood her deep meaning and immediately nodded. Okay, let's go. On this day, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichan were cultivating when someone suddenly came to look for them. The two opened the door and saw Di Yuju's subordinates. Young master, young madam, the patriarch asked me to invite you over. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichan nodded, casually tidied up, and walked outside. Father is looking for us. Did something happen? Di Beichan raised his handsome eyebrows. If something didn't happen, it was impossible for father to suddenly look for them. I'm not sure, but I heard that someone from the Chu family seemed to have come. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichan looked at each other and immediately understood. The Chu family naturally came at this time for Chu Yingming's injury. This guy probably hadn't been able to break through until now, so he came here to look for them because he was really helpless. It would appear that Chu Yingming is throwing caution to the wind. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. She had already rejected Chu Yingming once when they were on the flying artifact. She didn't expect that Chu Yingming would come again. This concerns his future. There's nothing he can do if he doesn't come. Di Beichan smiled faintly and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with eyes full of warmth. My wife is really amazing. When Di Yujue found out that Chu family's patriarch Chu Yifeng brought Chu Yingming to visit him, he was very surprised. The Chu clan was also an extremely powerful existence among the many forces. However, the Chu clan did not usually have much contact with them. Furthermore, it was said that in the Immortal Cloud secret realm this time, there were some conflicts between the disciples of the Chu clan and the Chu clan. It was unknown what the other party was here for. Yujue, that Chu Yifeng didn't bring Chu Yingming here to cause trouble, right? There was a trace of worry in Lin Yunqing's eyes, and her gentle face became even more delicate. That shouldn't be the case. A trace of hesitation appeared on Di Yujue's face. He wasn't certain about this either. According to what I know, although there was a conflict between Xiaofeng's group and Chu Yingming this time, there weren't many casualties on either side. Chu Yifeng shouldn't have specially come over to help the younger generation. Moreover, if that's really the case, we won't be afraid of him. A trace of coldness appeared on his handsome face. Although the Chu clan wasn't weak, the Di family wasn't afraid either. If Chu Yifeng wanted to use this matter to cause trouble, then he definitely wouldn't be polite. Chapter 5201. Don't worry, Do I look like an impulsive person to you? Dujue smiled and ruffled Lin Yunqing's hair. Don't worry. Seeing this, a smile appeared on Lin Yunqing's face. She was instantly relieved. That's good. I will go to the meeting hall first. When Xiaofeng and Beichen arrive, tell them to go to the meeting hall. Okay. Inside the meeting hall. Chu clan leader, you have an important guest. Welcome, welcome. Dujue looked at Chu Yifeng with a smile. That warm and amiable appearance of his did not have the slightest trace of the strength he had displayed earlier. When Chu Yifeng saw Dujue, he smiled as well. D family leader, I hope you don't mind my intrusion. Chu clan leader, what are you talking about? You have the time to come to my place. I couldn't be more happy. Dujue's face was full of smiles as he ordered. Men, prepare some tea. Tea and snacks were quickly served. Dujue was not in a hurry to ask why Chu Yifeng was here. Instead, he talked about his usual pleasantries. Since Chu Yifeng came uninvited, it was better for him to say the reason himself. Chu Yingming had been following Chu Yifeng. In reality, ever since he arrived at the D family, he felt uncomfortable. Thinking back to when he was in the Divine Cloud Realm, he was the one who challenged Di Beichen and the others. Now, he had no choice but to come and ask for help. He even had to drag his father into this. This feeling was very uncomfortable. Seeing that Dujue kept talking about other things and never asked about him, Chu Yifeng naturally understood what he meant. Thus, he took the initiative to explain why he was here. D family leader, to tell you the truth, I am here today because I need your help. Oh, Dujue raised his eyebrows. He was a little surprised. It seemed that things were not as they thought. Chu Yifeng did not bring Chu Yingming here to cause trouble. What is it? Dujue looked concerned. Patriarch Chu, don't worry. With the friendship between you and me, I will definitely help if I can. Hearing this, Chu Yifeng was relieved and said, I'm here to invite Dr. Wu Weiming to treat my son. Is there something wrong with your son? Dujue's gaze turned to Chu Yingming. Chu Yingming looked very spirited and didn't seem to be in any sort of discomfort. Ever since Chu Yifeng chose to join the D family, he had never intended to hide it. Of course, the main thing was that it was useless to hide it. Di Beichen and the others already knew about this situation. Moreover, if Wu Weiming helped treat him, he would also know about it. When Yingming was in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, he was severely injured. It seems that his foundation was damaged, causing his cultivation to stagnate. We've looked for many doctors, but we haven't been able to find a solution. In the end, we thought of Dr. Wu Weiming. I heard that he is now a guest doctor of your family, so I came to ask for his help. Dujue immediately understood. He smiled and said, Patriarch Chu is too polite. Wu Weiming is indeed a guest doctor of my family. It's not a problem for him to treat young Master Chu. Thank you. Chu Yifeng cupped his hands and said, This is a small token of my appreciation. Patriarch Chu is too polite. This is just a small matter. I can't accept a reward. Dujue quickly waved his hand. Chu Yifeng insisted. This time, I came to disturb you and caused inconvenience. This is just a small token of my appreciation. Chapter 5202. Seeing Dujue's serious appearance, Chu Yifeng felt helpless and could only thank him. Thank you, Brother D. Noticing the change in Chu Yifeng's address, Dujue smiled. This matter can't be delayed. Why don't we go find Dr. Wu now? Hearing this, Chu Yifeng's eyes lit up, and he quickly said, Thank you so much. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen arrived at the discussion hall, they found that Chu Yingming was nowhere to be seen. However, they were quickly informed to go to Dr. Wu's residence. After understanding this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen couldn't help but smile at each other. So Chu Yingming had this idea on Dr. Wu. Hongzhuang, can Dr. Wu cure Chu Yingming's condition? Di Beichen's brows showed a trace of doubt. If it was before, even if everyone knew that Dr. Wu's medical skills were excellent, he believed that Hongzhuang's methods would be better. However, since Wu Weiming became the family's guest doctor, Hongzhuang taught him a lot of relevant knowledge. Presumably his medical skills had improved. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and said, I think Dr. Wu should be able to determine it, but whether he can treat it or not, I'm not sure. Then let's go quickly. If he doesn't know that you poisoned him and directly says it, then it will be troublesome. Di Beichun frowned. The conflict between the younger generation was normal, but now that the Chu family's head had personally come, if this news was exposed, then it would be a bit complicated. Although they could not be sure that Hong Zhuang was the culprit of the poisoning, as long as they thought about it carefully, they might be able to connect the dots. Bailey Hong Zhuang naturally understood Di Beichun's worries and immediately quickened her steps. Wu Weiming was very surprised when he saw the head of the family come, but after understanding the purpose of the visit, he nodded and agreed. Dr. Wu, I'll leave this to you. Hearing this, Wu Weiming smiled. Family head, I will do my best. However, once the foundation is damaged, it is not easy to recover. I can only do my best. The most important thing in cultivation was the cultivator's own body. If the body was damaged, it would not be easy to recover. Many cultivators stagnant because they had been seriously injured. Even if they tried their best to recover, it would still be very difficult. Di Yujue turned to look at Chu Yifeng. Chu Yifeng immediately said, We understand the risks. We only hope that Dr. Wu could try his best. During this period of time, they had tried many methods, but they had not succeeded. Therefore, they had long been mentally prepared. Now that they were here, they had the mentality of giving it a try. If it could be cured, that would be the best. If it couldn't be cured, then they would give up. Seeing this, Wu Weiming nodded and began to treat Chu Yingming. However, as he took the pulse to understand the situation, his brows furrowed quietly. This was because he found that the situation was different from what Chu Yingming said. If his judgment was correct, it should not be that the foundation was damaged, but that he was poisoned. Chapter 5203. If he hadn't learned a lot of medical knowledge from Bailey Hong Zhuang, he definitely wouldn't have been able to detect it. Young Master Chu, may I ask how you got this injury? Wu Weiming slowly asked. Chu Yingming didn't know why Wu Weiming asked this. He only thought that Wu Weiming wanted to know more about his condition, so he immediately explained the situation. You said that Bailey Hong Zhuang helped you before, but you refused? Chu Yingming slightly nodded. His expression was filled with awkwardness and helplessness. This was undoubtedly the thing that he regretted the most. He shouldn't have listened to Jun Lingxuan and ended up like this. If his cultivation really stagnated, then he really didn't know what to do in the future. Wu Weiming's gaze slightly changed. If it was something else, then it wouldn't have mattered, but he didn't think that Bailey Hong Zhuang would have helped him. When he thought of this brilliant method of poisoning, he immediately understood what was going on. If his judgment was correct, this poison should have been administered by Bailey Hong Zhuang. Since that was the case, how could he say this? Therefore, Wu Weiming directly chose not to say anything. Dr. Wu, how is my condition? After seeing Wu Weiming suddenly fall silent, Chu Yingming had a bad premonition in his heart. The doctors that had treated him before were also in the same situation. In the end, the answers that they gave him all made him feel helpless. Chu Yifeng also stared at Wu Weiming. This was their biggest hope of the moment. If even Wu Weiming couldn't cure him, then they would really fall into despair. Your condition is very complicated. Wu Weiming sighed. A trace of helplessness appeared between his brows. Chu Yingming and Chu Yifeng's hearts immediately sank, and their gazes became dim. They didn't think that there would be no hope in the end. If I want to completely cure you, I'm afraid it will be very difficult. Now that I think about it, there's only one person who can completely cure you. Wu Weiming slowly said. Following Wu Weiming's words, a trace of hope appeared in the eyes of Chu Yifeng and Chu Yingming, who had originally fallen into despair. Dr. Wu, may I ask who is the person you're talking about? Chu Yifeng looked at Wu Weiming with anticipation. They never thought that there would be someone with better medical skills than Wu Weiming. Most importantly, from Wu Weiming's words, he could tell that the other party was not only skilled in medicine, but also strong. Otherwise, Wu Weiming would not be so sure. Di Yujue, who was at the side, understood a little. He was very clear that his daughter-in-law's medical skills were more outstanding than Wu Weiming's. Come to think of it, the candidate that Wu Weiming mentioned was none other than his own daughter-in-law. My master, Wu Weiming said. Chu Yifeng was slightly surprised. I wonder who Dr. Wu's master is. Where are they now? He had always heard of Wu Weiming's medical skills, but he had never heard of his master's name. My master is here. Wu Weiming smiled faintly. Chu Yifeng and Chu Yingming's faces suddenly showed a pleasantly surprised expression. They thought that it would be difficult to find Wu Weiming's master, but they didn't expect him to be here. It was simply too surprising. May I ask which master it is? Chu Yifeng asked with a smile. I'll go visit him. Chapter 5204. Hearing Wu Weiming's words, a trace of doubt appeared between Chu Yifeng's brows. According to Wu Weiming's age, his master shouldn't be young. He really couldn't understand what was wrong with his words. Could it be that his master hates it when others talk about his age? Dr. Wu, may I ask who your master is? Chu Yifeng threw away the doubt in his heart and asked. Wu Weiming faintly smiled and turned his gaze to Chu Yingming. You also know my master, young Master Chu. Hearing this, Chu Yingming couldn't help but be stunned. He didn't know many doctors, and he never remembered seeing Dr. Wu's master. Seeing the two's confused appearance, Wu Weiming didn't beat around the bush and immediately said, My master is Bailey Hongzhuang. Young master, Chu shouldn't be unfamiliar with her, right? Following Wu Weiming's words, Chu Yifeng and Chu Yingming froze in place. They stared at Wu Weiming in disbelief. What kind of joke was this? Bailey Hongzhuang was Wu Weiming's master? Wu Weiming was Bailey Hongzhuang's master, right? Dr. Wu, is what you said true? Chu Yifeng's lips twitched. This news was too shocking, right? Wu Weiming nodded. His expression was normal. Of course. Why would I lie about something like this? Wu Weiming faintly smiled and sighed. To be honest, the reason why I stayed here was mainly because of my master. Over the years, my medical skills have reached a bottleneck. I thought it would be difficult for me to take another step forward. I didn't expect that after meeting my master, I would come into contact with a new world. My master's medical skills are truly number one. Saying this, Wu Weiming looked at Chu Yingming. Young Master Chu, your situation is so complicated. I'm afraid only my master can treat you. Back then, your choice was indeed wrong. If my master were to treat you, there wouldn't be any future problems. But now, Wu Weiming sighed. That depends on whether my master is willing to treat me or not. Chu Yingming's body instantly stiffened. Even though he already knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills weren't bad, he didn't expect it to be to this extent. Before this, he had never heard the slightest bit of news. Chu Yifeng's mood was also extremely complicated. Previously, no one could understand why Wu Weiming would eventually become the D family's guest physician. He originally thought that the D family had paid an unimaginable price to achieve this. He didn't expect that this was not the case at all. From the beginning to the end, it wasn't the D family who tried to persuade Wu Weiming to stay. It was Wu Weiming himself who wanted to stay. Alchemists and doctors. These were two professions that didn't seem to have much use on normal days, but in fact, they could play a huge role at all times. However, now that Di Yujue had such a daughter-in-law, there was no need to worry about these two aspects at all. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but envy Di Yujue. He really had a good son and a good wife. Others couldn't envy him. After listening to Wu Weiming's words, Di Yujue felt a burst of joy in his heart. He really didn't see that Dr. Wu had such a black-bellied side. In this way, his daughter-in-law's reputation would be completely spread out. Chu Yingming couldn't help but look at Chu Yifeng. He didn't expect that in the end, he would still have to ask Bailey Hongzhuang for help. Chapter 5205. Noticing Chu Yingming's expression, Chu Yifeng already understood what he meant. Previously, when he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had rejected Chu Yingming's request for help, he was still somewhat disdainful. After all, she was just a little girl. No matter how good her medical skills were, how good could they be? However, at this moment, his thoughts had completely changed. Since Bailey Hongzhuang was Wu Weiming's master, it meant that she was a medical master. This was completely different. Thinking of this, Chu Yifeng also turned to look at Di Yujue. Brother Di, I'll have to ask for your help in this matter. Since Bailey Hongzhuang had already directly refused before, presumably if they went to ask for help now, the possibility of success would not be high. Therefore, the only way was to have Di Yujue speak. As long as Di Yujue agreed, Bailey Hongzhuang would definitely help. Even if he had already expected that Chu Yifeng would have this idea, Di Yujue's face still revealed a look of surprise. Brother Chu, it's not that I don't want to help you, but I have to ask Hongzhuang's own opinion on this matter. Hearing this, Chu Yifeng's heart tightened. He definitely could not listen to Bailey Hongzhuang's opinion. He had to make Di Yujue agree before Bailey Hongzhuang knew about this news. Otherwise, when Bailey Hongzhuang made her own decision, there was no need to think about it. He knew that she would definitely choose to refuse. This was not the result he wanted. Brother D, you and I have known each other for so many years. Although we didn't have much contact before, at least we have feelings for each other. Considering that we have known each other for so many years, you must help us in this matter. For his son, Chu Yifeng had already prepared to throw caution to the wind before coming here. At least pleading with Di Yujue now was much better than pleading with a junior later. If he was directly rejected by Bailey Hongzhuang, his old face wouldn't be able to hang on. Chu family head, don't worry. Hongzhuang may not necessarily refuse. Di Yujue's face revealed a difficult expression. At this moment, this difficult expression was not an act. According to his position, he naturally hoped that Bailey Hongzhuang would help. This way, he would be able to obtain the Chu family's gratitude. Don't underestimate this favor. Once it was used, the effect would not be small. At least, in the future, when the various large families distributed resources, the Chu family would definitely support them. However, he also knew the conflict between Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang's group. He did not want to force Hongzhuang. Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang finally came back. She didn't want to wrong them at all. Brother D, I only have one son. As long as you can help me with this, no matter what you need me to do in the future, I will definitely not refuse. Chu Yifeng's expression was sincere and serious. To the current him, there was nothing more important than Chu Yingming's recovery. Chu Yingming also nervously looked at Di Yujue. He understood why his father was doing this. As long as Di Yujue agreed, Bailey Hongzhuang would definitely help. Therefore, Di Yujue was their only breakthrough. Chu, I understand how you feel, Di Yujue hurriedly said. Don't worry, I will definitely persuade Hongzhuang to agree. How about it? Seeing that Di Yujue still didn't agree directly, Chu Yifeng felt a little more at ease since he had already loosened up a little. Chapter 52:06. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun arrived and saw this scene, they immediately felt relieved. It seems that Wu Weiming did not tell them the real reason for this matter. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang appear, Wu Weiming's face suddenly revealed a smile. Master, you're here. Hearing this sudden address, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly startled. Although she had taught Wu Weiming some medical knowledge before, Wu Weiming had never called her master. Suddenly hearing this address, she was really not used to it. However, she quickly reacted and understood the deeper meaning of Wu Weiming's actions. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and her husband arrive, Di Yujue's face also revealed a smile. Beichun, Hongzhuang, you're here. Father. Bailey Hongzhuang and her husband respectfully called out. Let me introduce you. This is Chu family's master, your Uncle Chu. Uncle Chu. Bailey Hongzhuang and her husband bowed. Di Yujue looked to the other side. Young Master Chu, you must already be very familiar with him. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun both nodded. Their expressions were gentle and did not appear arrogant, but there was a trace of alienation. Chu Yingming's expression was awkward. Recalling all the things that happened before, how could he not feel awkward now that he was here? Chu Yifeng had heard all kinds of rumors about Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun before, but when he saw that these two were actually so young, his eyes could not help but flash a trace of surprise. A talented man and a beautiful woman, a match made in heaven. So this is young Master D. You're really a talented man, and your wife is also a first-class beauty. Uncle Chu is too kind. Di Beichun clasped his hands, a polite smile on his face. As he spoke, Chu Yifeng's gaze fell on Di Yujue. At this moment, it was undoubtedly more convenient for Di Yujue to speak. Di Yujue immediately understood what he meant and turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Hongzhuang, it's like this. Dujue's face was filled with a benevolent smile. Master Chu's foundation has been damaged due to his injuries. Now, we've searched everywhere for famous doctors, but to no avail. I've come here today in hopes that you can help. Following Dujue's words, Chu Yifeng and Chu Yingming's gazes landed on Bailey Hongzhuang. Their gazes were filled with sincerity and expectation. If Bailey Hongzhuang did not agree, then there was nothing they could do. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had already guessed the purpose of Chu Yingming's visit, so they weren't surprised when they heard this. Thus, long before they came, they had already discussed this problem. Wife, do you plan to agree or refuse? Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment. Since they've specially come, why don't we accept this favor? Previously, she did not plan to treat Chu Yingming, because this guy was their opponent. Helping her opponents had never been her habit. However, now that Master Chu had personally brought Chu Yingming here, as long as they helped solve this problem, it would be no different from doing the Chu family a great favor. From the perspective of the Chu family's interests, this was undoubtedly the best. It would be able to maximize the benefits. Di Beichen smiled faintly. Whatever my wife does, your husband will support. Chapter 5207. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Chu Yifeng and Chu Yingming both let out a sigh of relief, a joyful expression appearing on their faces. Chu Yingming rejoiced. From Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, he could tell that she originally didn't want to agree, but because of Diyujue, she chose to agree. For a moment, he really rejoiced that his father first sought the help of the Di family. Otherwise, they really would have been finished. When Diyujue saw Bailey Hongzhuang make such a decision, he was also somewhat surprised. However, he also understood the reason behind Bailey Hongzhuang's decision and immediately admired her even more. Not only was his daughter-in-law capable, she was also very thorough in handling matters. She was truly worthy of being Beichen's good helper. In the future, he would be able to hand over the Di family to them, so he was completely at ease. Miss Bailey, then I'll have to trouble you. Chu Yifeng looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile. Although he still didn't know the result of the treatment, he didn't know why, but he felt that this matter was already set in stone. Many thanks. Chu Yingming also spoke out. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. So Uncle Chu and my father are good friends. It is only natural for me to help. No need to be so polite. Once these words were spoken, Chu Yifeng immediately felt even more grateful towards Diyujue. This was all because of Diyujue that Bailey Hongzhuang agreed. Since young Master Chu is here to treat your injuries, then there is no time to lose. Shall we begin now? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Chu Yingming. Chu Yingming was surprised at first, but after reacting, he quickly nodded and said, "Then I'll have to trouble you." Wu Weiming immediately gave up his seat, a joyful expression on his face. I can also take this opportunity to learn from my master. Looking at Wu Weiming's respectful attitude, Chu Yifeng no longer had any doubts. Who would have thought that the young Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills were even more outstanding than Wu Weiming's? Brother Chu, don't worry. Hongzhuang's medical skills are superb. There shouldn't be any problems, Diyujue said with a faint smile. By now, he understood Bailey Hongzhuang's character very well. If she wasn't confident enough, Bailey Hongzhuang would definitely explain it in advance. And until now, Bailey Hongzhuang had not said such a thing, which proved that she had enough confidence. Chu Yifeng nodded, his gaze sincere. Brother Di, thank you. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was calm as she treated Chu Yingming. In fact, she understood the situation very well. She was the one who had poisoned him, so it would be easy for her to detoxify him. However, if it was completed so easily, Chu Yingming and Chu Yingyu would naturally not be too grateful. Therefore, he had to act as if it was extremely difficult. For this kind of situation, she was very good at it. The damage to your foundation is really complicated. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, her face showing a bit of helplessness. Hearing this, Chu Yingming's heart sank. According to what Wu Weiming said, Bailey Hongzhuang was his only hope. If Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't cure him, then there was no chance for him. Miss Bailey, is Yingming's situation untreatable? Chu Yifeng's heart also rose. After noticing the anxious expressions of the two, Bailey Hongzhuang said, It's not that it can't be cured, it's just that it's a bit troublesome. Chu Yingming's heart immediately calmed down. As long as there was a way, then it was fine. I'll have to trouble you. Chapter 52:08. Immediately afterwards, under the gaze of Chu Yifeng and the others, they saw Bailey Hongzhuang take out silver needles and begin to treat Chu Yingming. The silver needles accurately pierced into Chu Yingming's acupuncture points, and a rich power entered his body through the trembling silver needles. Chu Yifeng and Chu Yifeng were naturally laymen, but from the sweat on Bailey Hongzhuang's forehead and the gradually paling face, they could see that she was working very hard to treat Chu Yingming. After seeing this scene, Yujue couldn't help but feel sorry for Bailey Hongzhuang. He didn't expect that for this favor, Bailey Hongzhuang would work so hard. Thinking of this, he even felt some regret. If he knew that this process would be so difficult, he would have just refused. If Bailey Hongzhuang became sick from exhaustion, he would feel even more sorry. After Di Beichun noticed Di Yujue's complexion, he couldn't help but send a sound transmission. Father, don't worry. Hongzhuang is fine. You brat, why don't you feel sorry for Hongzhuang at all? Di Yujue frowned. Bailey Hongzhuang's pale complexion. How could she be fine? Not only Di Yujue, Chu Yifeng and Chu Yingming couldn't help but feel guilty after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's laborious appearance. Di Beichun heard this and laughed in his heart. Father, Hongzhuang's appearance is actually faked. If not, why would Chu Yingming and the others feel that they owe us a big favor? When these words came out, Di Yujue was slightly stunned, then immediately understood. He didn't expect these two little guys to be so smart, even thinking of this problem. He discreetly sized up Chu Yifeng, and sure enough, Chu Yifeng's expression also changed. If he had pretended to be sincere before because he wanted Bailey Hongzhuang to treat him, then his attitude now was undoubtedly more sincere than before. Chu Yingming stared blankly at the busy Bailey Hongzhuang and couldn't help but recall the various things that had happened back then. In fact, if they had not listened to Jun Lingxuan's slanderous words and decided to join forces to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, with their personalities, they would not have left them in the lurch. This could be seen from Chun Feng and Murong Jing, who were on good terms with them. These two people treated their friends with great sincerity. He suddenly regretted it. This was the worst decision he had ever made. After a long while, Bailey Hongzhuang took back the silver needles and said, I will go and make another medicine. After you take it, your problem will be solved. Hearing this, Chu Yingming hurriedly said, Miss Bailey, you are already very tired. How about you rest first? It doesn't matter if I'm a bit late. Thinking back to what he had done to Bailey Hongzhuang and Murong Jing, he felt somewhat guilty. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand. It doesn't matter. I will go and make the medicine first. With your current situation, the sooner you take it, the better. Chu Yingming, who originally wanted to say something, sunk into silence after hearing this. So there was actually such a reason. Di Beichun followed Bailey Hongzhuang out of the room. After they were some distance away, Bailey Hongzhuang recovered her spirit. How was she still as weak as before? Master, your acting skills are getting better and better. Xiaohei couldn't help but sigh. If they didn't know about it beforehand, how could they see that it was all an act? Chapter 52:09. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's calm expression, Xiaohei and Xiaobai couldn't help but look at each other. As their master and their male master spent more and more time together, their master's black-bellied level had clearly increased. Just now, they had clearly seen the change in Chu Yingming's attitude. He was completely grateful to their master from the bottom of his heart, whereas the slightest bit of resentment from before. Thinking back to how the jade toad disappeared just like that, they could only admire their master's method of buying people's hearts. It was truly incomparably powerful. After Bailey Hongzhuang finished brewing the antidote, she returned once again. However, when she returned, her complexion was even paler than before. She looked like she was already powerless and could only force herself to complete everything. Seeing this scene, Chu Yifeng felt even more embarrassed. Originally, they had already owed the Di family a favor by coming to ask Di Yujue for help this time. Now, they had made Bailey Hongzhuang suffer so much. No matter how thick his skin was, he still felt embarrassed. This debt of gratitude was not just an ordinary kind of debt. Chu Yingming's expression was also complicated. He had never thought that it would make Bailey Hongzhuang exhaust so much effort. However, thinking back to how all the doctors had said that this matter was extremely difficult, he could understand. It was indeed very difficult. Otherwise, with Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills, how could she be so tired? Di Yujue also sized up Bailey Hongzhuang. In his heart, he was also extremely impressed by the intelligence of these two little guys. If Di Beichun hadn't already told him the specific situation, he would also feel very distressed and would even feel that it would be better not to treat it. Bailey Hongzhuang handed the antidote to Chu Yingming and said, "Drink this antidote and the problem will be solved." Once these words were said, Chu Yingming looked back and his gaze fell on the antidote. His situation had troubled him for so long. He didn't think that now, as long as he drank this antidote, his situation would be completely improved. The surprise came too suddenly. For a moment, he didn't even dare to believe it. "Yingming, quickly drink it," Chu Yifeng hurriedly said. Seeing this, Chu Yingming did not delay. He remembered that Bailey Hongzhuang had said that the earlier one drank the medicinal soup, the better its effects would be. Thus, he picked up the bowl of medicinal soup and drank all of it. After Chu Yingming took the medicine, Chu Yifeng couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang and ask, "Miss Bailey, Yingming's injury is already healed?" Although he saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had been busy for a long time, he didn't know how to judge whether she was well or not. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. "That's right, it's done." Di Beichun also said, "Chu Yingming, you can feel it for yourself. If Hongzhuang says there's no problem, then there's naturally no problem." Hearing this, Chu Yingming subconsciously began to absorb the surrounding yuanli. Immediately after, he felt that the feeling that had been hindering his cultivation for a while had suddenly disappeared. There was no longer any feeling of hindrance. On the contrary, he felt his entire body relax. He hadn't felt this kind of feeling for a long time. As soon as his yuanli surged, Chu Yingming was pleasantly surprised to find that he was about to break through. Chu Yifeng naturally also keenly felt that Chu Yingming's aura was different. A trace of ecstasy immediately appeared on his face. This meant that just like Bailey Hongzhuang said, the problem was completely solved. Chapter 52:10. Of course, this was under the assumption that Di Yujue didn't truly understand the whole story. If he knew that the reason why Chu Yingming became like this was all because of Bailey Hongzhuang's poison, and that Bailey Hongzhuang not only cured the poison, but also made the other party shed tears of gratitude, he would probably admire his two-faced son and daughter-in-law. "Congratulations, Master Chu." A smile appeared on Wu Weiming's face. "It seems that I was right. My master's medical skills are truly the best." Hearing this, Chu Yifeng repeatedly nodded. His gaze towards Bailey Hongzhuang was filled with admiration. Now his attitude had completely changed. Don't look at how young Bailey Hongzhuang was. She was definitely a medical grandmaster. Her medical skills were already so exquisite at such a young age. One could only imagine her future. Miss Bailey's medical skills are truly amazing. I'm truly grateful. Chu Yifeng's eyes were filled with gratitude. If it weren't for your help, my son's future would have been ruined. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a pale smile. She waved her hand and said, "Uncle Chu, this is what I should do. Master Chu is such a genius. If his cultivation stagnated because of this, it would truly be a pity." As she said this, Bailey Hongzhuang tightly knitted her brows. Her pale face revealed endless exhaustion. "Miss Bailey has truly worked too hard this time. You should go back and rest first," Chu Yifeng said with concern. Di Beichun promptly spoke up. "Uncle Chu, then we'll be leaving first." Chu Yifeng repeatedly nodded. This trip had gone much smoother than he had expected. Now that the biggest problem had been solved, he was completely relaxed. The only difference was that he felt guilty towards Bailey Hongzhuang. In order to treat Chu Yingming, he didn't need to think to know that she had expended a great deal of effort. "Brother Di, I really have to thank you this time." Chu Yifeng looked towards Di Yujue. "I truly feel sorry for making Miss Bailey work so hard. I have some natural treasures here that will be of great help to cultivators." I'll have to trouble you to pass them on for me. Di Yujue smiled and was about to refuse when Chu Yifeng said, Brother Di, if you don't accept this, then I really don't have the face to continue staying here. Di Yujue was stunned for a moment when he saw this. After that, his hand that was pushing out also stopped. In that case, I'll accept it on behalf of Hong Zhuang. Brother Di, I owe you a big favor. Chu Yifeng looked serious, and his deep voice was full of gratitude and sincerity. I've always been a person who draws a clear line between gratitude and grudges. I'll remember how you've treated me. I will never forget this kindness. If you need my help in the future, just let me know. As the head of the family, Chu Yifeng naturally had a dark side, but this time Di Yujue's attitude towards him was so calm that he couldn't scheme against him anymore. If Di Yujue had used this against him before, then he wouldn't have been so polite. Di Yujue didn't have the slightest intention of threatening him because of this. He knew that there was a conflict between the two of them, but he still tried his best to help. Facing Di Yujue like this, if he continued to scheme against him, then he would be too heartless. Before, he didn't interact much with the Di family. Because of the Jade Toad, he was originally dissatisfied with the Di family. However, after what happened this time, his thoughts completely changed. Chapter 52:11. After Bailey Hongzhuang returned to the room, she acted as if nothing had happened. After taking a sip of tea, she looked at Di Beichun. Beichun, if we leave like this, Chu family's head should have already remembered this favor, right? Di Beichun smiled faintly. Don't worry, for this kind of matter, Father definitely has more methods than us. Once he makes a move, his harvest will definitely not be small. Let's just wait and see the results. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. If they could gain the friendship of the other party, or make the other party owe them a huge favor, this kind of harvest would be even more precious than obtaining heavenly treasures. After all, a favor between aristocratic families was much more effective than heavenly treasures. If they continued to stay there, Chu Yifeng might directly choose to compensate them with heavenly treasures. However, if they left and faced Di Yujue, the situation would be different. Speaking of which, it's really interesting. If it weren't for Jun Lingxuan and the others stopping me, Chu Yingming would already be dead. Thinking about it carefully, the current situation is actually more advantageous for us. There is no need to say more about the enmity between them and the Jun family. No matter what, it was impossible to resolve. Since the Xiao family had already joined hands with the Jun family, they were destined to be opponents. This kind of situation was not good for the family. However, if they had the Chu family as a helper, then the situation would be much better. Correct. Di Beichun smiled faintly. This is all thanks to my wife. Let's stay in the room for the next 2 days. If we want to put on a show, we have to go all out. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly, her gaze distant. Chu Yingming's cultivation has not improved because of the poison. Now that he has broken through, I'm afraid it's not just one level. Let him break through. The greater his harvest, the greater the favor the Chu family owes us. Bali Yanche listened to Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang's conversation from the side and sighed his heart. He had long heard that Chu Yingming was the best at scheming, but now it seemed that he couldn't compare to his sister and brother-in-law in this aspect. Ever since Chu Yingming's injuries were completely healed, everyone discovered that Di Yujue had been very pleased with himself for the past 2 days. To be able to obtain such a huge favor so easily and make use of it would be of great benefit to the entire clan. He didn't keep this a secret. After Di Lin Xian and the others understood the situation, they sighed in their hearts. My granddaughter-in-law is really amazing. The more I look at her, the more I like her. Xiao Wanrong's face was full of joy. When she first saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she liked her very much. Now that she found out that Bailey Hongzhuang was Di Beichun's good wife, she didn't know how to express her love. Beichun is indeed blessed. Di Linxian was also pleased with himself. I plan to go out in a few days. Where are you going? Xiao Wanrong was a little surprised. I want to go to Old Man Murong's place. Di Lin Xian slowly said. That old man always mocked me in the past. Now I have to let him know how amazing my grandson and granddaughter-in-law are. Hearing this, Xiao Wanrong couldn't help but chuckle. That's right. I'll go with you. It just so happens that I haven't gone out in a long time. Okay. Du Jue and Lin Yinqing couldn't help but look at each other after hearing this conversation. Then they smiled helplessly. Chapter 52:12. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang had predicted, Chu Yingming had not only broken through by one level, but by two. Compared to his repressed appearance before, he was undoubtedly more high-spirited now. Thinking back to the mockery and ridicule from before, when everyone thought that he would never be able to make a comeback, his current results would definitely shut those people's mouths. However, even though his situation had been completely resolved, he still did not leave the D family. That was because he wanted to personally apologize to Bailey Hongzhuang and Chu Yingming. He understood that with their previous hostile relationship, it would not be easy for them to help him. Even if the head of the D family had spoken, it would still be their choice. Otherwise, as long as they were unwilling, they could have just made up an excuse. As such, he would accept this favor. Not long after Bailey Hongzhuang left her room, she bumped into Chu Yingming. She raised her eyebrows, naturally understanding why he had come. "Miss Bailey, thank you so much for this." Chu Yingming's gaze was deep as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. He had always stayed here because he wanted to personally thank Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was calm. "Mr. Chu, there's no need to be so courteous. I apologize for my previous actions in the Immortal Cloud secret realm. I'm very sorry," Chu Yingming said sincerely. "I'm truly grateful that you're willing to help me this time." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Chu Yingming in astonishment. She did not think that this fellow would be so serious. If it was before, she could not be bothered to pay attention to him. However, now that he had taken the initiative to make peace, there was no need for her to continue acting like this. A faint smile appeared on Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face, and her voice became gentler. "In the past, we've known each other for a long time. I know that Jun Lingxuan and the others were behind this." Noticing the change in Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude, Chu Yingming felt joy in his heart. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that he had misjudged her. Fortunately, he still had a chance to make up for it. Based on the potential of Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun, it was better to befriend them than to be enemies. "Miss Bailey, are you feeling better now?" Chu Yingming revealed a look of concern. Previously, in order to save him, Bailey Hongzhuang had expended a great deal of effort. When Di Beichun arrived, he heard Chu Yingming's words of concern. He slowly walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side and sat down. "Thank you for your concern. My wife is fine now." Hearing this, Chu Yingming was not completely reassured. "Lady Bailey, I see that you seem to have harmed your body greatly after treating me. This makes me feel extremely guilty. You must properly take care of yourself. I have some treasures here that can help you recuperate. I hope they will be helpful to you." After saying that, Chu Yingming handed his Cosmos sack to Bailey Hongzhuang. "Master Chu, you're too courteous." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "Previously, Uncle gave me many things and my father has already given them to me. Now that my situation has improved, you don't need to worry. I can't accept any more of these things." However, Chu Yingming was still insistent. "Those are my father's kind intentions. These are my kind intentions. Most of the things here are my gains from the Immortal Cloud secret realm. They are not very useful to me. You're an alchemist and a doctor. These things are very suitable for you." Chapter 52:13. Bailey Hongzhuang had already seen the things that Chu Yifeng brought over. They were all first-class spirit grasses. She couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. The two of them had already cleared their debt. If she still accepted things, she would feel embarrassed. Chu Yingming saw that Bailey Hongzhuang insisted on not accepting it. He knew that Bailey Hongzhuang still wasn't willing to forgive him, so he felt a bit anxious. "Miss Bailey, just accept it. This way, I will feel a bit better." Chu Yingming's expression was serious and resolute. Admittedly, he was a selfish person, but when facing the other party's magnanimity, especially when it was a woman, he could no longer face all of this with the same attitude as before. Di Beichun's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang and Chu Yingming's hands. When he noticed that Chu Yingming's hands seemed to have touched Bailey Hongzhuang's skin, his gaze suddenly became gloomy. In the next moment, Di Beichun directly grabbed Chu Yingming's hand and placed it between him and Bailey Hongzhuang. Chu Yingming looked at Di Beichun with some astonishment. He didn't understand what was going on with him. He saw Di Beichun's lips curl up into a smile. His handsome face became brighter and brighter. But for some reason, Chu Yingming felt a bit scared. He felt that something was wrong. But Di Beichun was clearly smiling at him. Di Beichun took the Chinquan bag from Chu Yingming's hand and placed it in Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. He said in a pampering and gentle voice, "Wife, since this is young Master Chu's kind intentions, just accept it." Bailey Hongzhuang also looked at Di Beichun with some astonishment. She also felt that Di Beichun's expression was a bit strange. Yes, he looked like he was smiling, but why did she feel like he was angry? Chu Yingming nodded. "That's right. Just accept it." "Since that's the case, I'll accept it," Bailey Hongzhuang replied. "Actually, I'm here today to say goodbye." Chu Yingming said, "I've already disturbed you for a few days. It's time for me to go back." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "Then we'll send you off. Come back often if you have the chance in the future." Chu Yingming lightly smiled. "All right." However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to send Chu Yingming off with Di Beichun suddenly said, "Wife, have you forgotten that we're going to find Ling Xiao?" Bailey Hongzhuang looked up in surprise. Although they didn't want to look for Ling Xiao, they did not say that it would be today. "Since you're going to look for someone, there's no need to send me off." Chu Yingming lightly smiled. "In any case, we'll have a chance to meet again in the future." "Take care," Di Beichun replied. Chu Yingming slightly nodded, then glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang. "If there's a chance in the future, you're welcome to come to the Chu residence as guests. I'll be leaving first today." "All right," Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. After Chu Yingming left, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichun and said, "Let's go. We're going to find Ling Xiao. I'll go back and rest first." Di Beichun's face was calm as he walked towards the house. Bailey Hongzhuang stood in the same place, her face complicated and doubtful. "Xiaohei, what's going on?" Xiaohei shook her head. "I don't know either. Perhaps the male master is in a bad mood today. Let's go take a look." Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged. Di Beichun was rarely unhappy. Chapter 52:14. Bailey Hongzhuang walked to Di Beichun's side and asked with concern, "Beichun, what's wrong with you today? Are you not feeling well?" "No." "Then let's go find Ling Xiao now." "Go ahead," Di Beichun replied. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. She closed the distance between her and Di Beichun and seriously looked at his handsome face. Her delicate little face was full of confusion. "Beichun, you don't seem right today. What's wrong?" Looking at the beautiful face that was so close to him, Di Beichun's gaze quietly fell on those pink lips. They opened and closed, looking very cute, as if inviting him to taste them. In fact, Di Beichun did just that. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was chattering on and on about Di Beichun's discomfort, her red lips were directly captured by Di Beichun. His domineering kiss directly attacked with a passionate breath. Bailey Hongzhuang's body stiffened for a moment, but she quickly relaxed and responded to the passionate and gentle kiss. She didn't know what was wrong with Beichun today, but she only hoped that Beichun would be happy. Suddenly, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a wave of pain. Her red and swollen lips pouted as she stared at Di Beichun with dissatisfaction. "Beichun, you bit me. I'm punishing you," Di Beichun said seriously. However, looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's confused and pitiful appearance, he only felt that it was very delicious and couldn't help but become restless. "Punishing me?" Bailey Hongzhuang was confused. "What did I do wrong?" "You're not allowed to see Chu Yingming alone in the future," Di Beichun said in a deep voice. Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned. "Why?" "No reason." Bailey Hongzhuang tilted her head and leaned back a little to put some distance between her and Di Beichun. She didn't say anything and just looked at him quietly. Being stared at by Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichun looked a bit unnatural. "What are you looking at?" Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly laughed. Her eyes were full of smiles, and she couldn't help but laugh from the bottom of her heart. "Beichun, you're not jealous, are you?" "Why should I be jealous?" Di Beichun said seriously. "You're already mine. But why do I smell something sour?" Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, and her eyes curved into crescents. "In short, stay away from Chu Yingming in the future." "And if I don't?" Bailey Hongzhuang stood up. and smiled slyly. She didn't notice this before, but now she was sure of it. Looking at this Beichun, she felt that he was very cute. She didn't expect this man to have such a side to him. A sweet feeling lingered in her heart. You still dare to say no? Di Beichun's face suddenly sank. In the next moment, his big hands reached out and directly carried Bailey Hong Zhuang in his arms. It seems that I need to restore my position as the husband. Put me down. I won't. Put me down. Then will you still see Chu Yingming in the future? He's gone. Bailey Hongzhuang helplessly curled her lips. This guy really makes people feel helpless when he's domineering. Then can you put me down? No. Why not? Because I have to let my wife know the consequences of doing this. Oh, at night, Bailey Hongzhuang had a look of resentment as she ate. Her eyes fell on the guy opposite her, who was proud of himself. Wife, today's dinner didn't taste good. How about we eat something else? For example, this afternoon. Chapter 52:15. Even though Chu Yifeng tried to prevent the news of Chu Yingming's foundation being damaged from spreading, many people already knew about it back in the Immortal Cloud secret realm. So, the speed at which the news spread was extremely fast. In an instant, many people were waiting to see Chu Yingming make a fool of himself. As the young master of the family, his future was limitless. Yet, because of this, his path was completely cut short, especially when the family that was his enemy wantonly spread the news, causing the faces of the Chu family to become extremely ugly. However, after Chu Yifeng and Chu Yingming returned to the family, this rumor was completely dispelled, because not only was the problem of Chu Yingming's foundation being damaged resolved, his cultivation even broke through 2 levels. This made everyone's jaws drop. It was because of this that they remembered the Di family's kindness even more deeply. Nangong family. In a short period of time, the Nangong family had already invited many famous doctors to treat Nangong Xiaolong. Unfortunately, they were all helpless. There was not even the slightest solution. In this period of time, doctors came in an endless stream. Every day, there would be doctors coming after hearing the news. This period of time has been really interesting. First, we went to the Chu family. Now we came to the Nangong family. It's a pity that this illness is too difficult to treat. Isn't that right? Foundation damage is already extremely difficult to treat. It's just that we can't even find out if he's poisoned. It's really helpless. You guys don't know about this, right? A doctor who had just arrived today couldn't help but say, I just heard that the problem of the Chu family's young master's foundation has been resolved. Following this person's words, all the doctors present were stunned, and a look of astonishment appeared on their faces. Is that true? Of course it's true. This time, he only managed to resolve it after going to the Di family. Foundation damage. Generally speaking, there's no way to resolve it. The man frowned. However, he quickly understood. I heard that Dr. Wu Weiming is a guest doctor of the Di family. No wonder he could resolve it. Dr. Wu's medical skills have always been praised. You guys don't know about this, the new doctor said with a mysterious expression. The new doctor said mysteriously, the person who cured young Master Chu was not Dr. Wu, but the young madam of the Di family, Bailey Hongzhuang. These words could be said to be like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. All the doctors present could not help but be stunned, wondering if they had heard wrongly. Bailey Hongzhuang? I've heard that she's a rare genius alchemist among the younger generation, enough to be comparable to Ouyang Jifeng, but I've never heard that she's also a doctor. This news can't be fake. Right now, it's spreading like wildfire outside. If you ask me, this Lady Bailey's medical skills are superb. She should be able to cure Nangong Gongzi's poison. The first elder, who happened to pass by, had a change in his expression when he heard the news. Then, he quickly left. Patriarch, the family has already invited many doctors, but none of them have any effect. Dr. Nangong had a difficult expression on his face. In my opinion, there are only 2 ways to resolve the problem. The first is to find Dr. Wu Weiming, and the second is to see Bailey Nangong Yuqing frowned when he heard this. Damn it, Dr. Wu is a member of the Di family. This means that we have no other choice. Chapter 52:16. Nangong Zhengquan helplessly looked at the 3rd elder. Because of this matter, the 3rd elder hadn't been able to rest. Nangong Jinkuan was also helpless about this. At this time, the first elder also walked in. Seeing the helpless Nangong Jinkuan, he looked at the third elder and said, "Third elder, I'm afraid there's no other way." "What do you mean?" The third elder was stunned. His face was filled with confusion. "I just received news that Chu Yingming's injuries have been cured." Nangong Yuqing was surprised. Cured? Who cured him? Back in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, he had seen Chu Yingming's condition. Logically speaking, it was impossible for Chu Yingming to get better. It was the D family's Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang. Nangong Yuqing raised his voice. She was actually willing to treat Chu Yingming? The first elder nodded. "I don't know what exactly happened, but it's the truth." Nangong Jinkuan's face sank. His gaze was distant and complicated. His voice also became heavier. "So the Chu family owes the D family a great debt. I'm afraid that in the future, the Chu family will be on the same side as the D family." "That's right." The first elder sighed. "I didn't think that the D family would grasp such an opportunity. Originally, they lost the Shao family as an ally, so their situation was a bit complicated. Now that they have the Chu family support, their previous problems are no longer a problem. This D Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang are really two different people." Nangong Jinkuan's deep eyes flashed with a faint light, making it difficult for others to see through him. Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills are so strong. Since she was the one who poisoned Xiaolong, I'm afraid that others won't be able to cure him. Hearing the first elder's words, everyone fell silent. Indeed, Bailey Hongzhuang could even solve the problem of her foundation being damaged. This kind of method, others definitely couldn't compare. Third elder's heart sank. "So Xiaolong can only go see Bailey Shi? Other than that, I'm afraid there's no other way." When Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichun arrived at A.O. Lingxiao's residence, A.O. Lingxiao had just stopped cultivating. Shangguan Yingying and Wen Ziren also ran over. Ever since they returned, A.O. Lingxiao had been in seclusion. They also wanted to know what A.O. Lingxiao planned to do next. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others appear, A.O. Lingxiao was very happy. "What brings you all here today?" "Since we're mainly here to ask about your plans," Li Yundong said. Di Beichun went straight to the point. "We've been back for quite some time. When you plan to return to the A.O. clan?" Bailey Hongzhuang and the others all looked at A.O. Lingxiao. As long as the curse was not removed, he would not be able to hold his head high. This basin of dirty water was too hurtful. Thinking back to when they met A.O. Lingxiao in the lower realm, they could understand the pain in his heart. "I'm fine with anything." A.O. Lingxiao looked at Di Beichen. What he needed the most now was a backing. If he went alone, he wouldn't be able to take back the clan. A.O. Junquang was able to do such a thing back then, so he must have many trusted aides in the clan. If he went alone, his life would be in danger before he could even return to the clan. Chapter 52:17. Lingxiao, in my opinion, the best time to go to the A.O. clan is when you have the confidence to defeat A.O. Junquang. Di Beichen's eyes were deep and serious. They were naturally A.O. Lingxiao's backing. As long as A.O. Lingxiao wanted to go back, they would definitely go with him. Not only them, but even Lin Taxing and the others had repeatedly emphasized before leaving that if he wanted to go to the A.O. clan, they must go with him. However, in his opinion, this was not a problem. The most important thing was that A.O. Lingxiao could defeat A.O. Junquang. Only in this way could he convince everyone, and it would be more justifiable for him to take back the A.O. clan. Hearing Di Beichen's words, A.O. Lingxiao quickly calmed down and understood what he meant. "You're right. I must have the ability to defeat A.O. Junquang." Thinking back, A.O. Junquang had taken everything from him. Now he had to take it back with his own hands. Of course, he needed the help of Di Beichen and the others. More importantly, he had to defeat A.O. Junquang fair and square. Only in this way would his retaking be meaningful. Otherwise, in the eyes of others, he was just relying on others and not having true strength. "Lingxiao, are you confident now?" Ziren looked concerned. If it was in the past, it would not be a problem for A.O. Lingxiao to defeat A.O. Junquang. However, due to the regression of his strength, A.O. Lingxiao had been working hard on his cultivation. He did not know if he could catch up. Ao Lingxiao's eyes dimmed. There is still a gap, but I will catch up soon. Previously, in the Immortal Cloud secret realm, he had some understanding of Ao Zhongquang's strength. Currently, there was still a gap between them, but the gap was not big. As long as he worked hard for a few more days, he would definitely catch up. In the past, I was not confident that I could catch up in a short time. However, after taking the Immortal Elixir, my aptitude has been improved. Now my cultivation speed is much faster than before. That's true. Xiren also chuckled. The Immortal Elixir is indeed a first-class treasure. My cultivation speed is much faster than before. When Xiren then looked at Di Beichun. Now I finally understand why you were able to break through so quickly. The effects of the Heavenly Mandate body must be even better than the Immortal Spirit pills. It's really enviable. Di Beichun smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Shangguan Ying then said, "So, Ling Xiao still can't return to the AO clan for the time being?" Ao Ling Xiao nodded slightly. "I'm afraid I'll have to go into seclusion for a while." Hong Zhuang, do you have to go to the Bailey family? Shangguan Ying's eyes flickered with curiosity. That Nangong Xiaolong probably can't wait to see Miss Shi right now, right? I think so. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled faintly. I heard that the Nangong family has invited many doctors to help, but none of them have any effect. I heard that they have given up. That's for sure. Who else can break the spell if you're the one doing it? Shangguan Ying said matter-of-factly. That guy deserves it. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked back. Di Beichun, what do you think? We can go to the Bailey family first and settle this matter before heading to the AO clan. Di Beichun then looked at Ao Lingxiao. Lingxiao, what do you think? I'm fine with it. Ao Lingxiao hurriedly said. I'm already very grateful that you guys are willing to help me. Moreover, I do need some time to go into seclusion. Chapter 52:18. The Bailey Family. Ever since she returned from the Immortal Cloud secret territory, Bailey Union's status in the Bailey family has been rising rapidly. Normally, as a direct descendant of the Bailey family, her status in the Bailey family was not bad. However, after what happened this time, she became the leader of the younger generation. On one hand, it was because of her that the descendants of the Bailey family were able to enter the Immortal Cloud secret territory. On the other hand, everyone was certain that she and Di Xiaofeng would become a couple. Regarding this point, her feelings were rather complicated. She understood that Di Xiaofeng was interested in her. However, regarding the final result, she could not be sure. Therefore, when everyone was discussing this matter, she maintained her silence. Bai Li Fan, the head of the Bailey family, was in a good mood. During this trip to the Immortal Cloud secret territory, the Bailey family was also the biggest winner. Yin Yin, I heard that you receive an inheritance from the Immortal Cloud secret territory? Bai Li Fan grinned at Bailey Yin Yin. Since you are so lucky, you must train hard in the future. Feeling the friendliness of the head of the house, Bailey Yin Yin was surprised. Her beautiful face revealed a joyful expression. Head of the house, the inheritance I received this time was left behind by the ancestors of the Bailey family. Because of this, I was lucky enough to receive it. Bailey Yin Yin's face was calm. She knew very well that if it weren't for this reason, there would be so many talented cultivators who entered the Immortal Cloud secret territory. She wouldn't have received the inheritance. The inheritance left behind by the ancestors of the Bailey family? Bai Li Fan's eyes flashed with surprise. This inheritance was left behind by the ancestors of the Bailey family. Then, this is even more suitable for you. This is a good opportunity. You must seize it. Bai Li Fan smiled. Bailey Union's performance in the Bailey family has always been great. Today's performance made him even more satisfied. He had the intention of training her well and hoped that Bailey Union would achieve great results in the future. Thank you, head of the house. I will work hard. Bailey Union smiled. Even though the Bailey family has always been kind to her, today's friendliness still surprised her. In the next moment, Bailey Union took out a recording crystal and said, Family head, this is the inheritance crystal I obtained from the senior. He said that only you can see this recording crystal. Looking at the recording crystal in front of him, Bai Li Fan's eyes lit up. The Bailey family used to be an extremely powerful family, but it was a pity that they lost their inheritance and gradually declined until they were in their current state. Fortunately, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. In the end, it was passed down. In fact, every generation of patriarch hoped to make the Bailey family strong again. However, it was not easy to do so, and they had not succeeded for so many years. It would be great if this recording crystal contained a lost legacy of the clan. Thinking of this, Bailey Fan could not help but feel excited. If this was really the case, then the rise of the Bailey family was just around the corner. After receiving the recording crystal, Bailey Yunyan and the others tactfully took their leave. Although they did not know what the ancestors of the Bailey family said in the recording crystal, since only the head of the house could see it, it must be something very important. After everyone left, Bailey Fan immediately checked the recording crystal. Chapter 52:19. The next day, Bailey Yunyan went to see Bailey Fan early in the morning. She had always kept Bailey Hongzhuang's matter in her heart. After returning, she wanted to check the genealogy. However, the genealogy was not something that just anyone could look at. She needed the family head's permission. Yesterday's situation was obviously not suitable for her to ask about in detail. Hence, she came again today. Yunyan, what's the matter? When Bailey Fan saw Bailey Yunyan appear, he knew that she definitely had something to say. Family head, I'm here to ask for your permission to look at the genealogy, Bailey Yunyan said bluntly. Hearing this, Bailey Fan frowned. Look at the genealogy? Why do you want to look at the genealogy all of a sudden? Family head, do you know the D family's young madam, Bailey Hongzhuang? I know. Bailey Fan nodded. Putting aside Bailey Hongzhuang's outstanding performance in the pill refining competition, now that she had cured Chu Yingming's illness, she was in the limelight. Now, there was probably no one who did not know of Bailey Hongzhuang's name. At the same time, he also knew that the quota for their family to enter the Immortal Cloud secret realm was given to them by Bailey Hongzhuang. Hence, he was also very grateful towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Miss Bailey's surname is also Bailey. It said that her elders used to be from the upper realm. Hence, she wanted me to check the genealogy to see if there are any of her elders. Bailey Yunyan did not keep this a secret. In fact, this was not a big deal. You mean that Miss Bailey might be from our family? A trace of shock appeared in Bailey Fan's eyes, but more than that, he was pleasantly surprised. Even though he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's surname was also Bailey, he had never thought of this possibility. However, since Bailey Hongzhuang asked this question, it might really be possible. If all of this was true, it would be great news. Bailey Yunyan nodded. That seems to be the case. Miss Hongzhuang is very concerned about this matter. Then I'll go with you to check it out. Bailey Fan was also very concerned about this matter. May I know which name Miss Hongzhuang is looking for? Bailey Jingyu, Bailey Yunyan said. Miss Hongzhuang asked me if there was such a clan head. Patriarch? Bailey Fan was surprised. That makes it easier to investigate. That's right. Bailey Yunyan was very sure that when Bailey Hongzhuang said this name, she remembered it clearly. Soon, Bailey Fan and Bailey Yunyan began to flip through the family tree. The Bailey family had been passed down for many years, and the list of descendants was astonishing. Even if they directly targeted the head of the family, it was still not something that could be finished in a short time. Because Bailey Hongzhuang did not mention the specific year, the two could only start from the beginning to the middle. Yunyan, what did Miss Hongzhuang tell you? Bailey Fan asked as he looked through the family tree. She said that she was not sure, but the elders had told her about this matter, so she only knew that there was a clan head named Bailey Jingyu. If we can find it in our family tree, it means that we are of the same lineage. Bailey Fan nodded slightly and did not continue to ask. With Bailey Hongzhuang's age, it was already good that she knew this. She probably did not know anything else. Chapter 52:20. Bailey Fan had always hoped that Bailey Hongzhuang was a member of their clan. However, as time passed, his heart sank. It seemed that he had been indulging in the wildest of fantasies. There were many people with the same surname in this world. They might not necessarily be of the same bloodline. Bailey Yunyan also sighed. If she could, she really wanted to be sisters with Bailey Hongzhuang. It was really a pity. However, Just as they thought that it was impossible, Bailey Union's gaze suddenly fell on the words clan head in the genealogy. Bailey Jingyu. Bailey Union rubbed her eyes and carefully looked at the words. She was worried that her eyes were playing tricks on her. However, after carefully checking a few times, she found that she was not mistaken. A surprised smile appeared on her face. Clan head, I found it. There really is a clan head, Bailey Jingyu. Just as Bailey Yin thought that the clan head would be as excited as she was, Bai Li Fan's gaze was fixed on the genealogy in his hands. His eyes were filled with shock. Clan head. Bailey Yin looked at Bai Li Fan in confusion. She did not understand what had happened to the clan head. Clan head, I found Bailey Jingyu. Bailey Yin emphasized again. However, Bai Li Fan still did not answer. He only stared at the genealogy in shock. It was obvious that he had not recovered from the shock. Seeing this, Bailey Yin could not help but follow Bai Li Fan's gaze. She was also dumbfounded. This was because she saw two words on the genealogy, Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang? Bailey Yin's face was filled with disbelief. Our ancestor actually had a clan head named Bailey Hongzhuang. Bai Li Fan finally recovered from his shock. He reached out and took the genealogy from Bailey Yin. After carefully comparing it, he suddenly realized that Bailey Jingyu and Bailey Hongzhuang were actually grandfather and grandson. How could there be such a coincidence? Bailey Yin was also puzzled. This was too much of a coincidence. Why was Bailey Hongzhuang's name the same as her ancestor's name? Was it just a coincidence? Bai Li Fan couldn't help but recall the information he had heard in the memory crystal. After connecting all the dots, he suddenly understood everything. Yin, I'm afraid this Miss Bailey is closely related to our family. Perhaps she is the hope for our family to rise again. Hearing Bai Li Fan's words, Bailey Yin was stunned. Patriarch, what do you mean? Do you remember the recording crystal you gave me yesterday? I remember. The recording crystal sent me a message. In our ancestors' generation, there was a prophecy master who predicted that a woman would return to the 100 Lane clan and bring our clan back to greatness. She holds the true inheritance of the Bailey family in her hands. Bai Li Fan's gaze was deep and complicated. When he had received this news yesterday, he was also extremely shocked. He only felt that it was too hard to believe. However, after connecting all the dots, it all seemed so natural. It was as if everything had been arranged this way. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang. These two names were the same. He did not believe that it was a coincidence. How could all these things coincide so coincidentally? There was only one possibility. Chapter 52:21. After hearing Bai Li Fan's words, Bailey Yin's eyes widened. This news was simply too shocking. The Bailey family's inheritance has been lost for so many years, and they have long given up on finding it. However, she never thought that the inheritance she had received would contain such a prophecy. However, she had heard of the power of a prophet. Since it was a recording crystal left behind by the ancestor, it could not be false. However, the fact that it had the same name was simply too shocking. Yin, if you have the chance, you must invite Lady Hongzhuang back. Bai Li Fan looked at Bailey Yin with a burning gaze. The events of the past 2 days had filled him with endless hope. As a master of the house, his greatest wish was for the house to become stronger. Now that the ancestor had said that a woman would bring them hope, how could he not be excited? Bailey Yin nodded dazedly. It took her a while to recover from her astonishment. Don't worry, master. Hongzhuang had said that she would come. The truth of Shi Er's matter has come to light. Nangong Xiaolong will come and apologize. When the time comes, Hongzhuang and the others will come as well. Hearing this, Bai Li Fan's eyes lit up. That's good. You should pay more attention to Shi Er. She has the best relationship with you. Master, Shi Er had been muddle-headed and had mistakenly believed Nangong Xiaolong. Now, she's filled with regret. Can you forgive her? Bailey Yin's eyes were filled with sincerity and hope. Although Bailey she had returned, she had not dared to see the master, nor had she dared to ask what she would do after this matter was resolved. After leaving the house, she had no one to rely on. It was far too desolate. Forget it. What's done is done. Bai Li Fan slowly spoke. You can let Shi Er relax. After this matter is resolved, Pretend that nothing happened and focus on your cultivation. Thank you, Master. Bailey Union's face was filled with joy. Her heart, which had been hanging in the air, was finally at ease. Right now, she was simply too grateful to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. If it weren't for them, it probably wouldn't have been so easy to get Sheer back. Everything was finally going to clear up. She also began to hope that the woman mentioned by the old ancestor was Bailey Hongzhuang. She felt that after meeting Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, their situation began to improve. While Bailey Hongzhuang was looking forward to it, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were also preparing to go to the Bailey family. Ling Xiao, are you not coming with us this time? Di Beichen looked at A.O. Ling Xiao and asked. A.O. Ling Xiao nodded slightly. Right now, the most important thing for me is to cultivate. Therefore, I won't be going with you this time. Ever since his last conversation with Di Beichen, he understood that if he wanted to take back his family, the most important thing was his own cultivation. Therefore, right now, he only wanted to spend all his energy on cultivation. He didn't want to waste his energy on other matters. All right then, you can cultivate peacefully in the house. If there's anything, you can look for Zhai's or Howen. They will help you. Di Beichen had already guessed this before, so he had already informed the two of them beforehand. A.O. Ling Xiao was pleasantly surprised when he heard this. He smiled and said, I didn't expect you to be so considerate. Chapter 52:22. Don't worry, I'll be fine. A.O. Ling Xiao smiled. He had already made up his mind and had been staying in the room to cultivate while waiting for everyone to come back. Then, Di Beichen lowered his voice and whispered a few words in his ear before leaving with everyone. Xiaofeng, are you considered a son-in-law now? When Ziren looked at Di Xiaofeng with a teasing expression. Tell me honestly, have you been to the Bailey family before? Di Xiaofeng chuckled. I haven't been there before, but seeing how familiar you are with it, you must have been very fast when you pursued Ying, right? Of course. When Ziren raised his eyebrows proudly. Ying is my family's child bride. Hearing this, Di Xiaofeng was stunned and almost choked. Really? Ying is a child bride? In the next moment, Shangguan Ying grabbed Ziren's ear. What did you just say? Say it again. Hee wife. I was just joking. When Ziren smiled and said to Di Xiaofeng, I was joking, don't take it seriously. I thought it was true. Di Xiaofeng shook his head. He actually believed when Ziren's words and thought that when Ziren was just lucky. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the group of people laughing in the distance and couldn't help but chuckle. By the way, Di Beichen, what did you say to Ling Xiao before you left? She saw clearly before and didn't overlook Di Beichen's little action. I just told him to be more careful in the family. If there's nothing, it's best not to come out. Di Beichen smiled faintly. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and quickly understood the deeper meaning of this. So far, they haven't found the Jun family spy in the family. Even if they already had the possibility in their hearts, they had been carefully observing since returning to the family, but didn't find anything. Therefore, they were unable to determine whether their previous judgment was true or not. Since Ling Xiao has chosen to go into seclusion, I'm sure he won't be coming out anytime soon. That way, we can rest assured. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Indeed, I have already told Father about this matter. Father will also pay more attention to it. He wouldn't be worried if it were someone else staying in the family. However, the relationship between the A.O. family and the Jun family was already very good. Once A.O. Ling Xiao returned to take back the A.O. family, he would definitely become the Jun family's enemy. This matter was unfavorable to the Jun family, so he had no choice but to guard against it. That's good. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. It seemed that Di Beichen had already arranged everything. While Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were happily heading towards the Bailey family, the Nangong family was in a different situation. Do we still have to head to the Bailey family? Nangong Xiaolong's expression was extremely ugly. If possible, he really did not want to go over and be humiliated. Over the past few days, his situation had become a joke in everyone's eyes. Even if it was his family, he could feel that although they didn't show anything on the surface, the ridicule in their eyes made him understand that he had become a laughing stock. Unfortunately, he had no way to change this situation. Chapter 52:23. None of the doctors are able to cure your condition. If we don't go find Bailey Hongzhuang, we won't be able to cure you. Nangong Yuqing sighed, his slightly bloated face full of helplessness. Compared to being humiliated, your life is more important. As for the rest, it won't be too late to get it back in the future. I'm now a cripple. There's no way I'll be able to vent my anger. Nangong Xiaolong's face was pale. My wife is also making a fuss about leaving. What do you think I should do? His wife was already very sad when he became like this, but at least she didn't choose to leave. However, after finding out that he was in this state because of his love affair, the situation changed. Now, in addition to worrying about his own affairs, he also had to think of ways to coax his wife. It wasn't because of anything else, but because he was already a laughingstock. If his wife ran away again, he really wouldn't be able to go out and meet people. Hearing this, Nangong Yuqing's eyes flashed with a complicated light. Even if you ask me, I wouldn't know. No matter what, since she's already your wife, she'll always be your wife. If she stirs up trouble, you'll have to be firm. Nangong Xiaolong nodded slightly. That's right, if she dares to continue causing trouble, I won't let her off easily. Now that he's a cripple, even if he can't have sex, at least he still has his cultivation. As long as he's a top cultivator, he can't let others look down on him. Let's go. We'll go see the patriarch first. Nangong Yuqing said after seeing that Nangong Xiaolong was almost done packing. Nangong family's discussion hall. Nangong Zhengquan and the elders gathered together again. Soon, it will be time for Nangong Xiaolong to meet with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. This meant that it was time for Nangong Xiaolong to set off. Now that they've tried everything but failed to detoxify Nangong Xiaolong, this was the only way to save his life. Patriarch, Xiaolong will definitely be humiliated on this trip. Do you really want him to apologize to that slut Bailey she? The third elder's face was filled with unwillingness. He only had one son, Nangong Xiaolong, and he had always doted on him. However, it was because of that damned woman that Xiaolong had ended up in this state. Now, he even had to apologize to her. What kind of humiliation was this? Hearing this, Nangong Zhengquan felt a bit helpless. Third elder, you know the current situation very well. Apart from this, there's no other way. Why don't I go with Xiaolong? Third elder pondered. Third elder, in my opinion, it's better for Yuqing to accompany Xiaolong on this trip. Nangong Zhengquan's expression turned serious. This is a matter between the younger generation. I believe that Yuqing and Xiaolong will be able to resolve it. Following Nangong Zhengquan's words, the first elder added, that's right. If you, first elder, are to get involved in the matters of the younger generation, things will become complicated. First elder, now that things have come to this, there's no need for you to be so angry. Don't tell me you still don't believe in Xiaolong's abilities? The elders all tried to persuade him. This matter was related to the reputation of the clan. Chapter 52:24. Seeing that all the elders were against his decision, the third elder had no choice but to give up on his plan. He really wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to make trouble. The way Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did this time was really too much in his opinion. However, he also understood that if he insisted on going when no one supported him, he would be asking for trouble. Understand. I won't go. The third elder sighed and said. Hearing this, Nangong Zhengquan and the others felt relieved. If the third elder went, they really couldn't afford to lose face. When Nangong Xiaolong and Nangong Yuqing came to the hall together and heard this conversation, they felt helpless. Even if Nangong Xiaolong himself didn't want to go to the Bailey family, he didn't want his father to go with him. Father, leave this matter to me. There won't be a problem. The third elder nodded slightly. Then you must be careful on this trip. If you get bullied, you must endure it. Revenge is a dish best served cold. I understand, father. You can rest assured. Nangong Xiaolong's eyes flashed with a firm light. Now that he has become like this, he has been ridiculed by everyone in a short period of time. His ability to endure was much stronger than before. Even if he went to the 100 Lane clan, he would only be ridiculed like this. No matter how bad it was, it couldn't be that bad. However, as long as he survives, he will find a way to get revenge. Seeing that Nangong Xiaolong wasn't discouraged by this matter, Nangong Zhengkuan's face showed a satisfied expression. He looked at Nangong Yuqing and said, "Yuqing, you will accompany Xiaolong this time. If there is anything, you must act according to the circumstances." "Yes, father." Bailey Hongzhuang and the others rode on Di Xiaofeng's flying magic tool. Their speed was also very fast. Since Di Beichun returned to the family, Di Yujue also gave Di Beichun a flying magic tool, but Di Beichun hasn't used it yet. This time, they were going to the Bailey family. Nangong Yuqing and the others would also go. In order to ensure their safety, it was best to go together. "Xiaofeng, you haven't been to the Bailey family before. You won't lead the wrong way, right?" Ziren liked to joke around when he had nothing to do. As they got closer and closer to the Bailey family, everyone stopped cultivating. According to Di Xiaofeng's instructions, they should arrive today. Hearing this, Di Xiaofeng speechlessly glanced at Ziren and said, "Don't worry, I've already confirmed this map repeatedly. There's definitely no mistake. It's been a while since we last met. You must have missed Miss Yunyan." Ziren smiled faintly. "Ever since I came to the upper realm, I've only been to the Di family. I wonder if every family's layout is similar?" "That might not be the case," Emperor Xiao Feng slowly said. "Some clans have similar arrangements, but some clans don't have such a clear distinction between direct and branch clans. Our family is divided like this because there are many cultivators. According to my judgment, the children of the Bailey family will gather together." Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood. Obviously, the layout of a family was related to the size of the family. Compared to the Di family, the Bailey family was naturally much smaller. Then the Jun family, Xiao family, and other clans have similar arrangements to the Di family. Chapter 52-25. Just as everyone was discussing, the flying instrument finally came to a stop. In their line of sight, there was nothing but emptiness in front of them. There was nothing special about it. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were familiar with this. This was because the Di family's gate was the same. It was obviously a smokescreen. Di Xiaofeng held a shiny crystal in his hand and said, "This is the crystal that Yun gave me before we left. Once we reach the Bailey family's gate, this crystal will show us." In the next moment, Di Xiaofeng crushed the crystal in his hand. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. However, before they could ask what was going on, two figures had already appeared in everyone's line of sight. The two young cultivators looked at Di Bei Chun and the others. After a glance, they had already guessed their identity. They immediately asked, "Excuse me, are you Di Gongzi?" "That's right." Hearing this, the two cultivators were pleasantly surprised. "The family head has already told us that Di Xiaofeng will be here in 2 days and asked us to wait for you." The faces of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also showed smiles as they followed behind the two cultivators and approached the Bailey clan. After everyone walked a few steps inside, everything in front of them suddenly became clear. Just as Di Xiaofeng said, the Bailey family was much smaller than the Di family. However, it was still a large family. After all, the Bailey family had been around for so many years and had a certain amount of history. However, the Bailey family was not divided into different parts like the Di family. Instead, they were all gathered together and looked very lively. As they walked closer, the Bailey family's cultivators all looked at them with curiosity and surprise. "Look, that must be the Di family, right? Wow, the Di family's cultivators are too good-looking. Look, the man in blue is very handsome. The man in white next to him is also very handsome. However, the man in black is also very handsome. Didn't you guys notice the white hair man? That's a real monster." The women of the Bailey family stood rooted to the ground. At this moment, they couldn't care less about being reserved. This kind of eye-catching scene was not something they could see often. As when Ziren listened to the discussions of the crowd, his gaze involuntarily swept over Di Beichun and the others. Indeed, these fellows all had devilish looks. Normally, he thought of himself as a handsome man, but it was obvious that there was still a gap between him and these guys. Sigh, I suddenly miss Ling Xiao. At least I still have Ling Xiao to keep me company at this time. As Ziren's voice fell, Shangwan Yingying couldn't help but laugh out loud. Come on, at this point, you won't have a chance to turn things around in this lifetime. Ling Xiao as well. Why must he go into seclusion at such a time? When Xiren's face was full of resentment. He then looked at Bai Shi. Even a demonic beast in human form is so devilishly handsome. I really don't know what to say. Like master, like contracted beast. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun were already so devilish. Therefore, Bai Shi was just as devilish. Bai Shi glanced at Xiren and said, Big Brother Wen, you're actually more handsome than Big Brother Ao. Is this a compliment? Chapter 52-26. The news of Di Xiaofeng's group's arrival quickly spread throughout the Bailey family. Bailey Yinyan was the first to receive the news and immediately ran out. She knew that Di Xiaofeng and Nangong Yuqing had agreed on a time, so she had been waiting for it as the time drew closer and closer. Today, she had finally waited for it. Bailey Fan and the other elders also rushed out after hearing the news. The Di family's young master and Lin family's young master had personally come, so they naturally had to welcome them. Moreover, the other party had come for their family's matters. No matter how they looked at it, they were full of gratitude. When Bailey Yinyan arrived, she found that the family head and the other elders had already arrived and were enthusiastically welcoming Di Xiaofeng's group. Young Master Lin, young Master Di, our Bailey family is really honored by your presence. Bailey Fan's face was filled with joy, but his eyes quietly fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Ever since he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was very likely to be the one destined for him, he had been looking forward to seeing Bailey Hongzhuang as soon as possible. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang was standing beside Di Beichun, so it was easy to guess her identity. Bailey family head is too polite. Di Xiaofeng cupped his hands. We took the liberty to come and disturb you this time. We are very sorry. Young Master Di, what are you saying? This trip to the Immortal Cloud Secret Realm is all thanks to your care. Moreover, this time you are also here to help Shir seek justice. As the family head, I should be ashamed. I'm really grateful to you. Bailey Fan said. Yes, it is all thanks to young Master Di's help. Otherwise, our family wouldn't be able to achieve such results. If there's a chance, you must come often. The elders of the Bailey clan also echoed, their eyes full of sincerity. They were grateful to Di Beichun and the others from the bottom of their hearts. After feeling the Bailey family's sincerity and welcome, Di Beichun's group was in a good mood. Bailey Hongzhuang could also feel Bailey Fan's gaze on her and immediately had some guesses in her mind. She clearly noticed that Bailey Fan was paying attention to her. She guessed that Bailey Yinyan had already checked the family records, but she didn't know the results. At the same time, Bailey Yinyan's figure appeared in everyone's sight. Yinyan, seeing Bailey Yinyan's appearance, Di Xiaofeng's face immediately revealed a smile, and obediently she stood. And obediently stood by Bailey Yinyan's side. And Bailey Fan and the others glanced at Bailey Yinyan and Di Xiaofeng. They already knew that these two were in love with each other. They had their hands to support, and it would be the best outcome if the two of them could really become husband and wife. Yinyan, you're most familiar with young Master Di. I will leave the arrangements to you. You must treat them well. Bailey Fan smiled and instructed. Yes, family head. Bailey Fan then looked at Di Beichun's group again. You must be very tired after traveling for so many days. We have already prepared a place for you to stay. Why don't you take a rest and have dinner together later? Thank you. Di Beichun cupped his hands. Chapter 52-27. After Bailey Fan and the others left, the atmosphere became more relaxed. Even if the Bailey family was not as powerful as the Di family, they were still elders and had some restraints. Most importantly, Di Xiaofeng was interested in Bailey Yinyan, so they had to pay more attention to his attitude. I'll take you to rest now. Bailey Yinyan's lips curled into a faint smile. Her gaze was fixed on Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, but she did not dare to look at Di Xiaofeng. Noticing Bailey Yinyan's reaction, Di Xiaofeng could not help but ask with a smile, Yinyan, why do you seem to be avoiding me? I'm not, Bailey Yinyan retorted. I just feel that you must be tired after being on the road for so long. Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangwan Yingying looked at each other. Obviously, Bailey Yunyan was shy as a girl. The more she did not look at Di Xiaofeng, the more she cared about him. Di Xiaofeng nodded slightly, but his gaze was fixed on Bailey Yunyan. Not long after, they arrived at the place the Bailey family had prepared for them. With one look, they knew that they had put in a lot of effort. It was clean, spacious, and bright. It was obviously specially prepared for them. You guys are really considerate. Di Beichun smiled faintly. Ever since the family head knew that you guys were coming, he was very attentive. If it were not for your help, we would not have been able to enter the immortal cloud secret realm and have such results. This is the first time our family has achieved such good results. The family head and all the elders are very happy. Bailey Yunyan seemed to have thought of how happy Bailey Fan and the others were before, and her face bloomed with radiance. She clearly remembered how happy her family members were when they heard the news. As a member of the Bailey family, she was very proud of it. If that's the case, Xiaofeng can rest assured. He should be able to get the approval of his future father-in-law. Xiren raised his eyebrows and looked at Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan mockingly. Indeed, Di Beichun nodded and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Wife, you should take credit for this. Bailey Yunyan's cheeks immediately turned red after hearing everyone's words. Her eyes flickered as she didn't know where to look. Emperor Xiaofeng, quickly tell them to stop talking nonsense. However, Di Xiaofeng chuckled. Yunyan, I also want to know if I've been recognized. Hearing this, Bailey Yunyan's face turned even redder. She angrily glared at Di Xiaofeng and ran out of the house. I'm too lazy to talk to you. You guys should rest first. I'll come back later. Seeing Bailey Yunyan run away, Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but chase her to the door. However, Bailey Yunyan had already run out. Since this was the Bailey family, he did not continue to chase after them. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at Di Xiaofeng's helpless expression and couldn't help but laugh. Although Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan hadn't broken the window paper to this extent, they all knew that this marriage couldn't run away. Di Xiaofeng was a person who was infatuated with love. For so many years, no woman could move him, only Bailey Yunyan. Now that Bailey Yunyan's feelings were very obvious, it naturally wasn't a problem. Chapter 52:28. Hongzhuang, don't worry. Since we're already here, we'll know the results soon enough. Shangguan Ying said with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, a faint smile on her lips. She really wasn't in a hurry. On one hand, it was just as Shangguan Ying said. On the other hand, she had already guessed part of the answer from Patriarch Bailey's expression. After leaving the house, Bailey Yunyan continued to walk forward. Even though she had walked quite a distance, her face was still burning. It didn't look like it was going to get any better. Yunyan, where are you going? Suddenly, a voice called out to Bailey Yunyan, causing her to stop. Xia. Bailey Yunyan looked at Bailey Shi in surprise. When did you come? When did I come? Bailey Shi raised an eyebrow. Shouldn't I be the one asking you this? I had a walkover right in front of you. But what were you thinking about? You didn't even notice me. Bailey Yunyan paused and quickly said, It's nothing. I just heard from the elders that Patriarch told you to take good care of Di Gongzi and the others. Why did you run out on your own? I just remembered that there are some things I need to do, so I wanted to go back. So it's like this. Bailey, she smiled and immediately took Bailey Yunyan's hand. How can other things be more important than taking good care of Di Gongzi and the others? Patriarch has already said that your task for the next few days is to take good care of the guests. It just so happens that I also want to go and thank them. Come with me. I don't know what to say by myself. How about we go later? Bailey Yunyan was in a difficult position. Recalling the scene just now, she didn't want to go back and be teased again. Aya, what later? Since you're already here, let's go together. Bailey, she didn't give Bailey Yunyan a chance to refuse and pulled her towards Di Xiaofeng's residence. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were chatting in full swing when they suddenly heard footsteps outside the door. Everyone immediately quieted down. At this time, who could it be? Soon, they saw Bailey Shi at the front and Bailey Yunyan at the side, whose face was still red with embarrassment. Seeing this, everyone chuckled. They knew that Bailey Yunyan was easily embarrassed, so they didn't tease her anymore. Miss Xia. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bailey Shi with a smile. After not seeing her for some time, Bailey Shi's situation was clearly much better than before. Whether it was her essence, chi, or anything else, she had regained her luster. She was no longer the woman who had lost all hope and was only looking for death. Miss Hong Zhuang, it's great to see you again. Upon seeing Bailey Hong Zhuang, Bailey Shi became enthusiastic. Thank you for saving me back then. If it weren't for you, I would be dead by now. You're too polite. Let bygones be bygones. It's great that you're able to move on. I was too stupid in the past. I actually tried to kill myself for a man like that. Bailey Shi's eyes were filled with complex emotions. If she could, she really wanted everything to start over. Then she definitely wouldn't have fallen for Nangong Xiaolong. In the past, she didn't know what true love was. She only thought that ignorance was love. But after knowing that Di Xiaofeng was serious about Bailey Yunyan, she understood. Chapter 52:29. In terms of identity, status, and appearance, no matter from which angle, Di Xiaofeng was much better than Nangong Xiaolong. If she wanted to be with Nangong Xiaolong, then the difference between Bailey Yunyan and Di Xiaofeng was even greater. However, Di Xiaofeng had always protected Bailey Yunyan and was willing to express his feelings in front of so many people. Comparing the two, the difference was huge. She was very envious of Yunyan. At the same time, she was sincerely happy for her. At least Yunyan found someone who was truly good to her. She wasn't like her, who was in the wrong. Originally, Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others were worried about Bailey Shi's situation. Although Bailey Shi's situation had improved when she left, it wasn't something that could be solved in a short period of time. Unless she encountered some kind of opportunity that would make her feel enlightened and that everything in the past was nothing. However, seeing Bailey Shi's state of mind, they understood that she had let it go. It's good that you can see past it. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled. Thinking back to Bailey Shi's zombie-like appearance, this was the real her. That's right, that Nangong Xiaolong is scum. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but say, there are many good men in this world. You will definitely find one. Hearing this, Bailey Shi's eyes flashed with sadness. With her current state, how could she hope to find a good man? She had already given up on this plan. Shangguan Yingying also saw through Bailey Shi's thoughts and said, Miss Sheer, don't give up hope because of what happened before. Those who truly like you won't care about these things. I believe that you will definitely meet a man who is true to you. Bailey Shi looked at Shangguan Yingying in surprise. Then a smile appeared on her face. I hope so. In 2 days, Nangong Xiaolong will be here. Di Xiaofeng slowly said. Thinking back to Nangong Xiaolong's proud expression when he mentioned Bailey Shi, he wanted to teach that damn guy a lesson. However, he had to admit that Lin Qianqian's kick was indeed powerful. This was the best punishment for Nangong Xiaolong hearing this. Bailey Shi's expression couldn't help but change a little. Actually, I'm already fine, he came. Seeing Bailey Shi's conflicted expression, everyone immediately understood what she was thinking. She probably didn't want to see Nangong Xiaolong again. After all, the other party had hurt her so deeply. In the past, she had indeed hoped that Nangong Xiaolong would come to see her. But now, she did not want to see Nangong Xiaolong. From the mouths of Yin Yin and the others, she learned that she was just one of Nangong Xiaolong's lovers. However, she still believed him and gave him her heart. Now that he thought about it, it was really a joke. Sheer, don't think about anything else. Bailey Yin Yin couldn't help but say. This time, he came to apologize to you. When the time comes, you don't have to be polite. That's right, Nangong Xiaolong is scum. It's only right to teach him a lesson, Di Xiaofeng said. Because of Nangong Xiaolong, Bailey Shi's life had been greatly affected. How could she just let it go? Chapter 52:30. But when I see him, I don't even know what to say. Bailey Shi bit her lip, her pretty face full of complicated emotions. She couldn't see past it before, but now she did. She felt like she was a joke in front of Nangong Xiaolong, so she didn't want to see him again. What are you afraid of? Shangguan Yingying raised her eyebrows. He's the one who came to apologize. His life is in your hands. You don't have to say anything. Just listen to his apology. If you're still angry, then don't give him the antidote and let him perish on his own. Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others nodded as Shangguan Yingying's voice fell. The reason why they let Nangong Xiaolong come this time was to let this guy know his mistake and let Bailey, she let go of this matter. Ying is right. After Nangong Xiaolong comes, you can vent your anger however you want. Don't think that you can't raise your head in front of him because of what happened in the past. Now that guy is inhumane. In comparison, he's now everyone's laughing stock. Speaking of Nangong Xiaolong's miserable state, Xiren's face was calm. Even as a man, he couldn't stand Nangong Xiaolong's actions anymore. He deserved to be taught a lesson. Miss Shir, don't be afraid. We're all here. Bailey Hongzhuang also spoke up. Bailey, she looked up at everyone. Seeing that everyone trusted her, she nodded seriously. I understand. Seeing this, everyone was relieved. At night, the Bailey family specially prepared an open-air banquet to welcome Di Beichun and the others. The afterglow of the moonlight scattered on the ground, revealing a trace of silver, hazy, and tranquil beauty. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others sat in their seats, watching the performance of the singers in the middle, their faces full of smiles. Honored guests, you've come all the way here just to help Shir vent her anger. I'm really grateful. Bailey Fan picked up his wine glass and said, Here's a toast to you. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others all stood up. Master Bailey is too kind. We're the ones who are grateful for your hospitality. When Bailey Fan and the others saw that Di Beichun and the others were so approachable, they felt a burst of joy in their hearts. One had to know that the difference in power between the two clans was not small. Usually, the disciples of the great aristocratic families would not pay much attention to them. Previously, they were quite worried about this. Fortunately, such a situation did not happen, so they were completely relieved. There were many young cultivators from the Bailey family who attended the banquet. Apparently, they were all direct descendants of the family. Yin Yin, I am so envious of you to be able to receive young Master Di's love. When the news first spread, a group of young female disciples were filled with envy towards Bailey Yin Yin. Now that they had seen Di Xiaofeng, their envy was even stronger. Bailey Yin Yin had a smile on her face as her gaze fell on Di Xiaofeng, who was not far away. She was also very glad that she was able to meet Di Xiaofeng. Yin Yin, there are quite a few young masters here. Can you introduce them to us? Maybe we have a chance to? Chapter 52:31. Regardless of his status and background, just his outstanding appearance alone was enough to move the hearts of many women. That's Di Beichun. He's already married. When Xiren beside him is also married. Facing everyone's fervent gazes, Bailey Yin Yin couldn't help but explain. Other than them, there's also that white-haired man. I've never seen such a good-looking person in my life. Bailey Yao Air's eyes flashed with admiration. From the first time she saw this white-haired man, her heart was already moved. Di Xiaofeng and the others were all very handsome, but the first one she noticed was this white-haired man. This was a kind of soul-stirring beauty. Even if it was just a glance, it seemed like it could make her heart stop beating. That's right. Who is this person? Following everyone's gaze, Bailey Yin Yin's eyes fell on by Li Yanche. In fact, when she saw Bai Li Yanche for the first time today, she was also stunned. It was also her first time seeing such an exotic man. However, after knowing that Bai Li Yanche was Bailey Hongzhuang's little brother, she understood. He is Bai Li Yanche, Hongzhuang's little brother. Hearing this, Bailey Yao Air's eyes lit up. Then is he married? I don't think so. Bailey Yin Yin couldn't help but look at Bailey Shi and confirm, we didn't hear that Bai Li Yanche is married today, right? Indeed, we didn't. Bailey Shi nodded. Hee, then I know. Bailey Yao Air's face revealed a happy and excited smile. As long as the other party wasn't married, then she still had a chance. Yin Yin, tell me the name of that black-robed man? Bailey Yin Yin looked at the love-struck faces of everyone and felt a wave of helplessness in her heart. However, who told them to be so good-looking? Usually, they were wild bees and butterflies that couldn't be stopped. Now that they were like this, it was normal. His name is Mo Yunjue. He's also unmarried. Bailey Yin Yin didn't need anyone to ask. She directly told them everything she knew. Of course, if her daughter could really be liked by the other party, then she would be very supportive. After the group of women left, suddenly, another group of men came up to greet them. Yin Yin, Who was that girl in the same white dress? Bailey Yin subconsciously looked to the front. With this look, she also knew who everyone was asking about. She is Linger, unmarried. Haha, you know me best. Bailey Hongzhuang was sitting opposite to Bailey Yin. She could only see a group of young disciples talking to Bailey Yin one by one, but she couldn't hear what they were talking about. It seems like Yin is very popular in the family. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Shangguan Yinging nodded slightly. Indeed, she seems to have a good relationship with everyone. Di Xiaofeng heard Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Ying's conversation and couldn't help but chuckle. There's a reason why Yin is so busy right now. What reason? You'll know soon. Sure enough, it didn't take long for Bailey Hongzhuang to understand Di Xiaofeng's reason. Originally, Bailey Yin was eating fruits while watching the performance. It was a very good feeling. Chapter 52:32. However, this quiet situation did not last long. A figure appeared beside him. Young Master Yin Che, you must be bored here alone. Why don't I have a drink with you? Bailey walked to Bailey Yin Che's side with a smile. She was not a casual person, but this was the first time in so many years that she fell in love at first sight. She knew that Bailey Yin Che would leave after a few days, so she had to seize the opportunity. Otherwise, once he left, she would never have another chance. Seeing Bailey appear, Bailey Yin Che could not help but be stunned. He stared at the other party in a daze, but did not know what to say. Our surnames are both Bailey. Since we're so fated, don't you think we should have a drink? Bailey Hongzhuang, who was not far away, noticed this scene and immediately understood. She remembered very clearly that the woman beside Bailey Yin Che was the woman who had just gone to find Bailey Yin. Yin Che is really popular in everyone's eyes now. Shangguan Yinging could not help but chuckle. It's not just him. Yunjue is the same. Wherever they looked, the crowd clearly noticed that many women were secretly casting flirtatious glances at the two of them. Not far away, Bailey Fan and the others also noticed this, but they all laughed it off. If they could really form a relationship, it would naturally be something they would be happy to see. This kind of thing was hard to say. The matters between the younger generation should be left to them to solve. Yin Che is really lucky now. There are so many beauties throwing themselves at him. Xiao Bai sighed. It felt that these women were looking at Bailey Yin Che as if they wanted to eat him up. Xiao Xuanzi's eyes were filled with envy and excitement. I really hope to transform into a human soon. I hope so too. Xiao Bai nodded. They were originally beasties, but now that Yin Che had become a heartthrob, they were still beasties. Xiao He looked at Xiao Bai and Xiao Xuanzi's envious faces and could not help but roll her eyes. Yin Che was originally good-looking. When he transforms into a human, he will naturally be handsome, but the two of you may not be so. Xiao He, are you saying that I'm not good-looking? Xiao Xuanzi expressed his dissatisfaction, staring at Xiao He with wide eyes. My main target is Little White. Look at how black it is. I don't even know what it looks like in human form. What if it looks like Nangong Yuqing? What do you think it will do? At Xiao Hei's words, Xiao He, who was eating, almost choked. Will I look like that ugly Nangong Yuqing? Xiao Xuanzi quietly looked at Xiao Bai and nodded. Xiao Hei's words are reasonable. Can you repeat it for me? Xiao Bai was angry. It felt that in these two guys' eyes, it looked like Nangong Yuqing. This was simply intolerable. Just as Bailey and Bailey Yin Che were talking, a few more women came over. They looked like they also wanted to get to know Bailey Yin Che. Bailey Yin Che couldn't help but feel helpless when he saw the sudden appearance of a few women. He wasn't good at dealing with people in the first place. Now that a few women had suddenly appeared, he really didn't know what to do. Chapter 52:33. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang noticed Bailey Yin Che's gaze, she could only shrug her shoulders and give him a helpless expression. She was naturally duty-bound to help, but there was nothing she could do about this kind of romantic debt. Bailey Yin Che felt even more helpless when he saw this. He then turned his gaze to Di Beichun. Di Beichun only quietly reached out and hugged Bailey Hongzhuang. His meaning was obvious. Who asked you to not have a wife? Bailey Yin Che silently retracted his gaze, knowing that it was impossible for anyone to help him. Now you're in for a treat. Ling, looked at by Li Yin-che playfully. Ever since Bai Li Yin-che transformed into a human, his attitude towards her was not the same as before. Normally, she could not find a chance to turn the tables. Now that she saw Bai Li Yin-che like this, she felt extremely happy. Bai Li Yin-che glanced indifferently at Ling beside him. However, he noticed something not far away from them from the corner of his eyes. The corners of his lips hooked up into a smile. Then let's see if you'll enjoy it. Hearing Bai Li Yin-che's words, Ling could not help but frown. Her eyes were filled with confusion. How could she not understand what Bai Li Yin-che meant? However, Ling soon understood. A man from the Bailey family walked over. Ling felt that his gaze was very familiar. It was the same gaze that Dai Heoan looked at her. It turned out that Bai Li Yin-che had noticed the situation earlier, which was why he said those words. Miss Ling, this one is Bailey Uni. It's a pleasure to meet you. Bailey Uni's face was filled with a warm smile. I'm very happy too. Linger looked helplessly at the young man in front of her. When she thought about how she had lived so much longer than him, she felt that the other party was completely like a little brat. She didn't have the slightest interest in talking to him. However, Bailey Uni clearly didn't notice this as he continued. How about we go out and play together tomorrow? There are also some fun places nearby. If you want to ask me out, you have to ask him first. In the next moment, Linger stretched out her hand and pointed to a spot not far away. Hearing this, Bai Li Yin-che couldn't help but be startled. Only then did he realize that the person Ling was referring to was Bai Li Yin-che. Not only was Bailey Uni stunned, but Bai Li Yin-che was also stunned. He didn't expect that Linger would drag him into this matter at a time like this. Di Xiaofeng and the others, who were happily watching from the side, also focused their gazes on Ling and Bai Li Yin-che. Could it be that they had missed something during this period of time? Linger, what's going on? Shang Guanying looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. Logically speaking, among all of them, Bailey Hongzhuang should be the one who understood the situation the best. However, Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. I don't know either. Could it be that Bai Li Yin-che and Linger are a couple? Bailey Yao looked at Bai Li Yin-che in disbelief. She only wanted to know what kind of answer the latter would give. She really didn't want to believe this result, and only hoped that Linger was imagining things. Compared to everyone's astonishment and shock, Linger was very calm. Bai Li Yin-che quickly reacted and guessed that Linger didn't want to be disturbed by others, so she used him as a shield. Seeing that Bai Li Yin-che didn't respond, Linger couldn't help but ask again, didn't you say you would take care of me?